It's 6 o'clock, and I'm calling the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of August 15th, 2024 to order. May we begin with roll call?
Yes, sir. Hector de Garcia,
Here.
Rolando Cázares,
Here.
Cindy E. Cantú,
Here.
Mike Barron,
Here.
Johnny M. Narvaez,
Present.
Jim Belmanes,
Present.
Regina Portillo,
Present.
Daniel Sadefaz,
Here.
Adolfo G. Martinez. For the record, you do have quorum.
Thank you.
Motion to excuse the absence of.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Portillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge
to the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to consider approval of minutes of regular meeting of August 1st, 2024.
Motion to Chair. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Belmonte, second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Moving on to citizen comments.
We do not have any at this time.
Okay. Moving to open a public hearing and recommendation of an ordinance. Item 6A.
Motion to open public hearing of
Second.
6A.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Amending section 24.65.16 of the Laredo Land Development Code titled M1 Light Manufacturing District, creating subsection 7, which will impose distance regulations to prevent bars, nightclubs, cantinas, saloons, billiards, parlors, and carnivals from being located within 300 feet of any residential district, providing a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
This item was prepared by our legal department. Any questions, he will be happy to answer.
Okay.
Sure, is there an issue that we have M1 approaching residential districts that have?
Yeah, so the history behind this, item 6A was a recommendation, motion, and approval by majority of the city council. There have been some issues. So currently M1s, there's no distance restrictions. When it comes to bars in M1s, there's been a few incidents throughout the city where a bar has received a permit to operate legally within an M1, and that area directly abuts a residential district. So city council motion to approve distance requirements similar to those that exist in the B4 for bars, and implement those similar distance requirements to bars, I guess, attempting to operate in an M1 zone.
Outside of the area, Mr. Chairman, from Shiloh east of 35, is there any other M1 that abuts a residential district?
There's none with the bars existing currently, but there are M1s that do abut residential areas, but none currently with a bar in place. I think it's an attempt to be proactive and to avoid any future situations. Again, and this was a motion from city council, so this isn't a staff recommendation. This is a city council motion brought forth before you.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, how will this impact that current bar that is there by Charlotte?
It wouldn't apply retroactively. They're operating legally as it stands
It's only for the future.
for future development. Yes.
Got it.
So Chair, I know here there was a M1 zoning next on 359 that was next to a residential area, or is next to a residential area. So I guess that would be an example of one case. And the ordinance, I think, it mentions light. There's two H's on it. I don't know if it's supposed to be L-I-G-H-T instead of H-H-T.
In the
As
language?
far as in our packet. So kind of in the intro of the ordinance, it says light manufacturing district, but there's two H's in it.
Right, that's a typo. We'll fix that if it moves, or when it moves forward to. Well, I guess it will move forward to city council regardless of the motion here, but yeah, we'll fix that for.
All right.
So at this point, you're asking for a recommendation, either positive or negative?
Yes. So it either a yes or no from the commission, and then that recommendation will move forward to city council.
Mr. Chairman, motion to close and introduce the amendment.
Second.
We have a motion.
Oh, the people want to speak.
It is a public hearing. Did you want to speak, sir?
Yes, but you gotta open the public hearing.
It is open.
It is open.
We didn't open the public hearing, sir. He didn't ask if you wanted to speak.
I should just ran up.
Just run it.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Orlando Navarro, for the record. On this item, just for clarification, is how do you measure 300 feet? Is it gonna be, is it where the zones meet? That's the 300 feet? Or if I have a property that's 1,000 feet and I build my bar 200 feet, or whatever the distance would be, you know what I'm saying? Will that pass because I have a gap of land before I hit the residence, or is it gonna be property line of the zones? I guess the question just simply is how we're gonna measure this.
So in the land development code, I think, believe the only,
There's various.
there's different, and it's a little confusing, there's not a very consistent, method of measurement. The recommendation from, I guess for this ordinance, and perhaps when it goes to city council, or when we can make the recommendation here, would be to measure it as, I guess, as the crow flies, they would say, just in a straight line from property line to property line, not, or not from front door to front door, right? Not going along the property line, it would just be from the place of establishment to the nearest, boundary district.
From building to building,
Yes, from building to building, not along the property lines.
you know what I'm saying, because that could be a big game changer. If you're doing a master plan and you put, it's 300 feet, and if I did a master plan and I put 1,000 feet of commercial frontage, so in my eyes, I can put a bar there. You look at me like if I can or can't.
As if you would do that. I mean, of course.
No, I'll give you an example. If you're on Del Mar Boulevard, there are some, now the width there's a little bit tighter. But for example, if that width was 1,000 feet, then I could put bars there. But if it's one lot, then the measurement's gonna be from the house, straight line to the bar, or is it gonna be straight line to?
It looks like in the ordinance, it says residential district.
District.
So it'd be from the
District.
district boundary to, sounds, like the structure in a straight line. So from the structure in a straight line to the residential district, if I understand
Yes,
correctly.
correct, that is correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what is a prevailing method of measurement? I mean, what seems to be the most?
There are a couple. There's the straight line method, and then it's typically used for tobacco establishments, if I'm not misremembering. With the restaurant serving alcohol is, front door to front door.
Front door to front
Along the property fronts and across streets in the most direct fashion along,
So,
walking corridors.
So, Mr. Chairman, if this is addressing bars primarily, should we not take that prevailing method of measurement for bars?
There isn't for a bar. For a bar, in the B4, it says 300 feet. If you put a bar in a B4 district, it does require a 300-foot distance, but it doesn't identify method of measurement. So, in that case, we were falling back to the restaurant serving alcohol method of measurement.
Which is door front to door front.
That's correct.
Which we should, I don't know where in the ordinance, but I understood it was from property line to property line.
That-
So there's an
That's
example,
the basic,
right?
that's
There's
the
an,
basic one.
back in my previous nightmare,
Yeah.
my previous work, I approved a bar, and Commissioner Barron, you might remember this one. It's over there by Falcon Bank,
Right.
the backside where the bus barn is, that area.
Yes.
So a bar went in there, that was approved because of the distance. If you go down the street, go down Del Mar to the front door of the school. So we approved that, okay? But the question was, the bar is 50 feet from the property line. So which of the two? So in that case, the distance door to door is what was used to do it, and it got approved. But I know Mr. Barron was against that one.
Right, and because it wasn't, and I'm sorry I don't have the ordinance with me, but I will show you where it's property line to property line. it should have been measured that way.
So then, Mr. Chairman, should we
Yes.
not standardize this?
So we don't have
This
this
method of measurement, so
That-
we avoid these issues in the future?
I mean, obviously, yes, it would be good to standardize it. However, there are different measurements. Council has adopted the straight line method for those tobacco establishments. So I think it's 800 feet, right?
The tobacco was, it was
800
recently
feet.
amended to 800 feet,
800
correct?
feet, and that's not door to door, that's straight line.
So do you all have a
So-
preference? Does staff have a preference for this, Mr. Chairman?
I mean, typically you'll see you'll have a bar abutting residential to the rear, right? I mean, restaurants serving alcohol to the rear, and most often they'll be able to comply with the distance requirements. Where that proves somewhat of a negative impact is noise. You know, noise doesn't follow pedestrian corridors. It goes in a straight line. So that is the issue.
Mr. Chairman, I'll amend my motion to approve this with the caveat that it is a property line measurement for the 300.
Second.
Before we take a vote, let me just,
Property line to property line?
Oh, yeah.
before we
I would
take,
stay from door, I mean.
Storefront to storefront?
Storefront to storefront. Because property, you're right, if you have,
We're all over the map here.
if you have a big piece of property and you build it on one side, you're.
Mr. Chairman, and that's why I was asking staff, do you have a preference? I mean, is there something that makes more sense for you all in terms of enforcement? Or,
If the issue is noise, then door to door doesn't make
In-
sense.
In a case like this, you know, the spirit behind this ordinance, you know, is a lot of it has to do with noise, right? And everything that comes with a bar. And based on that, you know, the preference, you know, if you're asking for a recommendation, at least from our office, would be the straight line, right? Not the front door to front door, because I'll give you an example. You know, there's a bar on Shiloh where abuts a residential district. And
I know which one it
if you
is.
did the front door to front door, they would likely meet it, right? If you went down Shiloh, came around and down North Star, they would likely meet that requirement. But yet their DJ is 15 feet from a bedroom window. So that's what we're trying to avoid
So
here.
we have something in place to deal with the noise part of it.
There's a citation aspect of it, but the citation, you know, is just a citation, and it doesn't stop the night, doesn't stop the music, and you know, there are you know, legal proceedings, but you know, that's not that could take some time. That's not a quick fix, right?
I believe there's other uses in an M1 that are way worse than
Than a
having a
bar.
bar.
Yes.
So we should have no M1s next to a neighborhood, period. There
That's
should
right.
never be an M1 next to
That's
a
true.
We
residential.
do have some that already
So if they are, we
exist.
should make it as restrictive as possible to prevent this, whether it's property line or property line. Because
Exactly.
there shouldn't even be an M1 next to residence,
Yeah.
period.
and again, I know that particular one is almost 40 or 50 years old. I mean, that one was passed sometime in 1980, 1990, when that part of Shiloh was being developed. So, I mean, again, it's grandfathered in, not much we can do there, but I like the approach to prevent this happening in the future, so.
We're trying to be
I would amend
proactive.
My motion to include the 300-foot distance from property line to property line.
Yeah, and to echo legal's, it's to be proactive, because citation comes after the fact. After the business is already invested heavily in a location. Much better to prevent, you know, the mislocation of a business that may prove to be a negative impact to the surrounding uses. And prevent them having to invest in a location that ultimately they'll have citations.
I think there should be some uniformity when it comes to the measuring process that y'all set forth, because the reason for the 300-foot distance is to protect the residents, you know, from the noise and nuisance that could potentially be caused by, you know, having a situation that, you know, is currently happening now. So that's just what I think, so whatever decision y'all should make, I think it should be for both B4s and M1s, however you said to measure when it comes to noise and nuisance, you know. It's the best way to protect and then also allow the business to operate.
And so that's my motion, that we close the public hearing, introduce.
Can I just ask if there's any other,
Sure, please.
are there any other comments or anyone who wishes to come forward before we close the public hearing? Okay.
So then close the public hearing and introduce as amended with the 300-foot distance being defined as property line to property line.
Second.
Second.
In a straight line,
In a street.
in a straight line.
Straight line.
We have a
Straight
motion,
line.
motion by Commissioner Bernardes and a second by Commissioner Barron. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Motion to open public hearing 6B.
Second. We have a motion second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item 6B, amending Article 3, Section 24.56.1, purpose, Section 24.56.2, general requirements, Section 24.56.3, time requirement for park improvements, design and consideration, Section 24.56.4, special fund, 24.56.6, park and open space master plan and consideration, 24.56.10, Appendix A and Appendix B of the Parkland Dedication Ordinance within the Laredo Land Development Code.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The Parks Department is here to present.
Where's in the middle of it? Oh, it's right here? And it's like-
I guess, I don't know if I can say something, Mr. Chairman, before they start.
Yes.
The only thing with this ordinance that the Parks Department is ready to present is we didn't get this item until Tuesday. So I would like to give it its due diligence to review this item, and, because it's an important item. I believe in this item. So I was just hoping for more time to take a look at it. I believe it's about 22 pages. There's a lot of information, a lot of good information in it. But I do want to give it its due diligence to be able to review it and look for it. So my recommendation is that we do a subcommittee, give it its time, meet as soon as possible to go over it, and be able to do it. So I don't know if that would be like a separate workshop with all of us, or we can do a subcommittee for this. But it's something I would hope the rest of the commission feels would be a good idea.
Let's go through the presentation first and then take it from there.
Maybe we can present and then, Chair, members of the committee, thanks for having us here. We can present, Mr. Marron, and then after that, we'll be more than glad to, sit down with you guys and explain. It's a lot. I completely agree. I'm the director and I still gotta look over some things as well.
Well, I'm sorry, before we go, is this a public hearing?
It is a public hearing.
Okay, got it. So are we gonna allow the public to speak before then?
Yes,
or
after the presentation, we'll open the public hearing.
So is it possible to make a motion right now to save this till the end of the meeting, so we can allow the folks that are here to go over their zone cases possibly and their plats, and move this to the end of the meeting? Because I know it's gonna take some time, so I really wanna make sure we give it, I would hate to make you rush through the presentation.
We have about 7 slides, I think it is, 7 slides, basically straight to the point.
Go for it, yeah.
And then we'll keep it as short as we can. And then, I'm gonna tag team it because I got my staff here. Ms. Anita Stanley is the assistant director. Tommy Ramirez is our assistant director. And Liz Carrera, as you all know, our park planner. I wanna thank them personally because they put a lot of time and effort into this, and we wanna hopefully introduce this to kind of what we're coming from. Try to keep it short to the point. And then after that, we'll be more than glad to meet with you all and, to get, as you said, Mr. Marron, too. So what we're doing here, we're the Parkland Dedication Ordinance proposed changes for Article 3, okay? Again, we're gonna keep about 5 slides that we're gonna talk over. So, the existing levels of service, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, currently we have 257,000 people live in Laredo, compared to 176,576 back in 2008, when this ordinance was last passed. When we consider a level of service currently, we provide about 6.5 acres of parkland per 1,000. And we currently have 241 acres of undeveloped properties. And I want to specify that because sometimes what we're going into is that we have all these acres, but we don't have enough money to develop parks and with all the acres that we have, which we'll lead to here in just a minute. Current cost per acre of land. Currently, we charge $45,000 to acquire 1 acre of new parkland based on the ordinance that was back in 2008. As you can see there on the right, on the Roman numeral 3. On the average, a current value per acre is now about $55,000 based on appraisals, okay? So it went up about $10,000, as you can see. Cost of parkland improvement. We use about 80,000 of metric use in 2008 as an average cost that it takes to develop 1 acre of parkland, about 80,000. We're proposed, with the new proposed amendment, and if allowed and passed, proposed amendment would increase the amount to about 156,000 to develop a park in that 1 acre. And we'll break it down here in just a minute towards the end. What are our challenges? Okay, rationale for the increase is basically to the point, all right? The cost of park equipment has gone up beyond the cost of inflation since 2008, as we all know. Currently, the cost for a playground is anywhere between 80 to 550,000, depends on the size of what we want to build. If you all are familiar with North Central Park, we just built an ADA park, and I'm gonna just throw this in there. The one right next to the trailhead, that cost us about $1.2 million to be built. And it's not done yet. We're still doing phases 2 and 3. On the average, the cost to develop a full park is about $660 to $1.5 million. With the current fees, we collect enough just to build 1/3 of a park. Adding amenities as funds are available. As we get park improvement fees, we start adding more amenities to the park. As you know, I said earlier, population has grown 176,500 to 257,000 currently in 2024. While we have a current level of service of 6.5 acres of parkland for 1,000 individuals, there is unfortunately not the case for the entire community. We have recreation gaps within the city, and our challenges will be either purchase or obtain additional land to develop in those gap areas throughout the new development. And I'll let Mr. Stanley here in a little bit, elaborate a little bit on that one as we finish it up. Growth. The purpose of the levels of service is to ensure enough area is allocated for all our outdoor recreation needs. Our master plan does not recommend constructing many parks. We call it little pocket parks, okay? Our focus is to increase park acreage by constructing neighborhood parks, anywhere between 2 to 5 acres, or community parks, the way a community park will be the North Central Park. And I'm kind of related to this. I live in San Isidro over there by United High School. I have 3 pocket parks within a mile of each other. All right, and what's the challenge? The challenge is our guys have to go maintain that, and it takes a lot of time and resources to go maintain the little pocket parks, when in reality, our guys can spend some more time on the bigger parks to be able to spend the time and fix that. We are currently deficient by over 3,500 acres of these type of parks in the city, and hope to target this number by the end of 2030. Okay, these are the amendments we want to do, and we can we'll go through them, but at the end, we have a little slide there that will kind of show what everything is talking about here. Number 1, include increase in density of residential area. So we want to, people, and we have a land, people want to build apartments. They bring in more people. Well, those people want to use the park, so we got to add more amenities that we want to use to increase the density of the land that we have there. Add a plat or site where master plan is not required. Multifamily requirements of parkland improvements to be readdressed in keeping with consistency of the parkland dedication ordinance. Develop to construct park and get credit for a fair market value of amenities. And let me elaborate a little bit on that. What this means that is if we raise the fees, us as a park department, we're not in the business of building parks. Luckily we have a park planner now. We came on board about a year and a half ago. So we're able to, if let's say that we go up with the fees, and we have $500,000 that you have to pay us, right, for the park. If you're a developer, say, well, you know what? They meet with Liz and they say, hey, you know what? We want a basketball court, we want a slide, and we want all these amenities on those parks. So they're probably going to build it cheaper than we are. One, we're a municipality. We're going to get charged 30 to 40% right off the top. So they said, okay, if you owe us $500,000, you build it. You build the sidewalk. We're going to give you the menu, so to say. When you get those amenities, we're going to give you credit for those $500,000 that you use, okay, that you use to build. And again, we can discuss that as we get towards the very end when we tell you the formula. Requirements for trust agreements for multifamily developments. Increased timeline for park construction for 36 months. Right now it's 18 months. Give them 3 years. and Anita meeting with one of the developers and talking to them, say, hey, we don't make money in phase number one. Sometimes we're just trying to break even in phase one. So then when we come phase two, phase three, we make money so that we can come back and put the park back up that you guys are requiring. We're looking to increase the park improvement fee for $1,200 per dwelling. Increase the acres from 1 acre to 2.5, and adding the appendix B to describe the amenities desired. This is the dedication. I'm not going to read through it. Pretty much everything is here on the last slide, and I'm going to skip over from this one to the next one, because I know we want to make sure that we cover this. Okay, so, and this is well, we have the examples that you see there, but again, we're going to put it to you over here in the formula. Okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it from here, so you can do this last one.
Okay, this is good afternoon, Anita Stanley for the record. This is a comparison based on 800 dwelling units. What the ordinance states now, 800 dwelling units requires 3.12 acres, and this is at your 800 divided by 256, which is what the numbers we are currently using. The proposal is based on the 2.5 acres. You have your 800 dwelling units divided by 327. That is coming from the change in population and the persons per household. So that number changes. So you do your 800 units divided by your 327, and you multiply that times 2.5, because we're proposing to increase the acreage requested to 2.5. So your park improvement fee, as it is now, based on the current fees, you're looking at $251 for those 800 units. The proposed is for those same 800 units, you're looking at $960,000. Currently, as I said, it's 314. Proposed is 1,200. The existing is 314. That's based on 80,384 cost to develop a 1 acre park. What we're proposing is 156,862 for 1 acre at the new rate. Cash in lieu dedication would be 140,000, which is multiplying it times the 3.12 at 45 an acre. Cash in lieu dedication at the new proposal would be the 336,000 based on the new proposed rate of $55,000. So this is a comparison so you can see exactly how the numbers are going to interact with the current and the proposed.
Have you finished?
Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and show you this. As we were talking here, these are the amenities that we would require. Let's say a developer, well, what do we need in the park? They would visit with our department and say, well, not all the parks need playscapes. Okay, again, I go back to where I live. I have three parks, all of them with playscapes, but we don't have any open space. We don't have any green space. So they would depend whatever the park they need, and they would say, okay, well, this is what we need to put, and whatever money amount that they owe us, we would give them credit if they would build it themselves, so that they can probably, again, they are going to get it a lot cheaper, but according to the menu price that we would have, we will give them credit for the money that is credited. So I'll go back to this one. I know there wasn't some questions.
I have several questions. Number
Sure.
one, you said that you had several time looking at this, and you have at least 6, 8 months or a year. How much years, or have you been preparing for this
We've been looking into this for the last year.
for the last year? And going back to what Mr. Barron said, we got this paperwork on Tuesday, okay? And I do read everything that comes to me, and there's more than 50 changes, okay? And it's the first time that you present something like this to us. You need our confirmation or our recommendation. And my other question is, if you have this year, have you sat down with some of the engineers that are here, and do they know all of these changes? Because whatever we decide, it's good for us. Obviously, we want to be green, we want our parks, we want our kids to have playgrounds, but I think there's a lot of things that we need to discuss before we approve or something like this goes. I am always good for change and for being proactive, but this, so quickly, I am, how do you say? It's supporting what Mr. Barron said. Because I know this is a public hearing, and I'm pretty sure that some of the engineers here didn't even know about this ordinance. And they are the ones that are going to be, not them, because eventually it's gonna be the home buyers, right? Because you're gonna raise them, and they're going to be, they're gonna multiply it for them, because you want them to do it, but they're gonna need to get the cost from somewhere, and it's gonna ultimately be the buyer, right? So I think it is very important, don't get me wrong, we do need our green areas, and we are for it, but I think we should look up to this and do like groups with engineers and stuff like that, because this is something that we need to do and we need to approach, but we need to do it well, all right? That's my opinion.
Real quick, I understand what both of you are saying, and I agree with it, but I think you need to start somewhere. And this, I think this is the perfect place to introduce it. I like to see what people out there think about it. Because at the end of the day, you say, yeah, they're gonna pass down the cost to the people that are, but right now they're passing down the cost to all the taxpayers. So we're paying for all of that. We're paying for them to go and do all these things in property that we're not making anything out of it, but we're getting charged for it. We're paying for it. And I think it's about time, I think it's been, God, 2007, 2008. Yeah, 2008, that we hadn't done this. So I think it's something, that we need to hear from everybody. I agree 100%, but I think this is the perfect place to introduce it, to get an answer tonight. It's a hard thing because you know what, you gotta, like you said, I'd like to go back and read it and do what we need to do, but I also wanna hear from the public. But you usually get a call, hey, why are you all doing zero? So I don't know if their solution is, well, we'll just pass it back to the people that buy the house. I understand that. But at the end of the day, we don't do that. All taxpayers are picking up this cost, so I agree with that.
And typically the way I think some ordinance have worked is you go, I mean, line by line, the whole way through, and the changes, and why we're making those changes. And I'm sure, and again, I know it's due, like, you know, especially some of the comparisons you just showed, but there are questions like, how are we coming up with those fees? How are we coming up, did we compare with other cities, which I'm sure you guys did. I know you guys did, but I think it's a short amount of time right now, right? To give it due diligence, that's what I'm saying, like, and I'm all for this, but I would hope that we can set up its own meeting and let's get into it line by line, go through the whole ordinance and give it its justice that it needs, right? To be able to give a good recommendation. Because right off the bat, I've written like 20 questions, right? And I know you guys have the answers because you've worked on this for a whole year. But like my counterpart just mentioned, we just got this on Tuesday. And I want to definitely do this. I think it's a great idea. I'm all for parks. I believe we need them. But there are issues with fees, how we're going to receive these parks, what are we going to do with those funds, where are they going to be placed, how are they going to be spent, do we need more, do we need less, and all of that's going to take some time. And I know we have a lot of people here as well, right, that may not have known that this was going to be agenda, and I recognize the rest of the commission saying, you know, it's important, definitely is. But I would hope we can give it its own time. And I mean, like, we can do this next week, let's do it, right? And if we need to meet multiple times, let's do that, let's give it what it needs. But at this time, it really is difficult to continue to review this. And I would hope we could continue the public hearing if anyone else is here specifically to talk about this. But at the end of the day, I would make a recommendation to close the public hearing and meet, time certain, specifically just for this.
Before closing, I want to hear from the public.
Yes.
Why am I gonna go to a meeting not knowing what their concerns are? And then.
Well, I'm saying, if there's anyone here to speak
Yeah.
in favor of it, but I would
Yeah.
recommend doing that
Oh,
motion.
yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Almaraz has asked for the
Mr.
floor.
Chairman, here's my concern at the moment. We will look at this ordinance in an advisory capacity only. At the end of the day, it's council's decision whether to move forward with this or not, tomorrow, or next week, or the week after, right? Our suggestion, or our recommendation is going to be to council, to our council members, okay, let's slow this down a bit, have a workshop, present your ordinance changes, and I hope that that's the recommendation that they're willing to take from us. But at the end of the day, we have no statutory authority over you to tell you, no, you can't go to council to present this, you have to stop this here. That's a recommendation we're gonna make to you, and I hope that you all would take that recommendation, and present that to council as well. I know that that's gonna be my comment to my council member who's appointed me here, that we take a moment to maybe, reach out to the community, all the stakeholders. There are other members of your staff as well that may have, like the engineering department, your planning department, others that may have some comment that they wanna weigh in. But, at this particular point, our best bet is to hear your presentation as we have, hear from the public, then possibly at that point, close the public hearing and make a recommendation that, to our council, that they create a workshop in the future, either with a subcommittee, a full committee, or a public, town hall to have more folks engaged in that. Because at the end of the day, again, we are just an advisory capacity for this particular item.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, again,
But we are making our recommendation.
Correct.
Yeah.
To council.
So it's important.
we bring it forward to you, yeah, you're right, it's just to make you aware, right? And we're more than glad to sit with you all and have town hall meetings, because I know it's a very, we all want nice parks and of course for our kids, but there is a process that we understand that. We just wanted to show you, this is where we're at, look how far behind we are, right? And, we all live in the same city, we all love the city, and we always want to make it for the best. So whatever we can do, whatever we like to sit down and, town halls, or committees, subcommittees, we'll be more than glad to sit down and, and a lot of people didn't realize, wow, I didn't know that this, that's how much we only pay now. So, well, and then we hear, well, how come we don't have those parks? We can know that, well, because we got to pay for them. So, and a lot of that, I think somebody mentioned, Mr. Garcia, we tap into our own budget to have to finish some of these projects, unfortunately, and then, that's what hurts us, so. But anything we can help as a department, anything that we can have more people get more informed and feel comfortable with it. And, so somewhere that we can make it make it good for everyone, we'll be more than glad to meet with you also.
Thank you for your presentation. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor, in regards to this item?
Los engineers.
Orlando Navarro for the record. I'm familiar with this information, and I understand where they're coming from. But I think you're right. It's such a big deal that it needs to be looked at. Talk to the committees, that whatever is going to be put together. But apart from this, like Coach said, they're using their budget to do this stuff, but we haven't seen the budget change for parks. There hasn't been any kind of and I'm throwing out an idea, bridge funds, maybe 10% goes to parks, so that they could do so much, because their budget is basically maintenance. And even if you get fancy with these numbers, you're not gonna be able to get to where you need to be to fund all this stuff. They're always gonna be short. But, if there's a funding source out there that the city council or city manager can put together that's going to parks, it can offset some of this stuff, and that's not talked about. And that should be talked about, because if you talk to the people that are in the industry of selling, it's a very fine line to get approved. It's a very fine line, and $1,000 going from $314 to 1,000 something, whatever, that the home buyer has to qualify, and it just went up that much more, they just lost their house. And that's true. Ms. Cantu, Commissioner Cantu, you're aware of how this works, and so, if the city is going to do something a mechanism has to be put in place to fund parks better. Not just what they get every year. It's gotta be better for them because, they're actually doing miracles out there. And, you know, then you get these big tournaments that come in and the whole staff is out there and they're working overtime to service all that stuff, which is great because it brings in people to our city, but no one's looking at raising their budget or finding a mechanism that's gonna be tripling in money. And I think that's something, that's a serious thing that we have to look at because that's the only way that we're gonna maintain our parks, in my opinion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone else who would wish to come forward?
Mr. Gomez, I have one quick question.
Yes.
I know there used to be a Parks Board. I don't know if that's still in place.
Yes, yeah, yes, we
Was
still,
did the Parks Board, were they able to review this and look
yes,
at it?
yes,
And
J.P.
they have-
Gomez, Parks Director, yes, Mr. Barron, yes, we did present it to the Parks Board. Again, they're an advisory, they're an advisory committee, so, you know, they understood, they also got their eyes wide open, because we did compare them to other cities, we didn't show it to you today.
Right.
But when we do these meetings, we're comparable, right, we're not going with, we went with the McAllens, the Eagle Passes, the, you know, San Antonio, they do something different, they put it in their tax, you know, they don't do a park improvement fee. So, and I'm fortunate to say is that we are way down there compared to some of the cities. And yes, the Parks Board, to answer your question, the Parks Board did look at it and said, well, this needs to change, because we need to get back up there, we need, for our community, we need to better our quality of life. And we have 110 parks right now. And we keep growing, you know, that's that, but we are challenged financially to try to keep up with these parks because, and unfortunately, like I just said earlier, we get, oh, it's City of Laredo. You know what, right off the bat, that playscape, add 30%, 40% more to it. You know, come on, man, you know, because we're just a municipality, unfortunately, so. But, and we would involve them as well. We would like, if we need to have a subcommittee, we would like to bring them as well, you know, some people from the Parks Board to come and visit with that as well.
That'd be good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and have a meeting specifically just for the parks ordinance as early as possible.
That's our recommendation to council.
Right.
That they create a town hall or a workshop subcommittee for us to hear.
No, for us to do it.
I don't know that we have that authority. They said they need to go to council because that's the city manager's request of them to go to council. So ultimately, that's what
I think from the way I read it, needed P and Z's
Yes.
approval and recommendation.
Let me ask you,
It's not a statutory authority.
it's as, you know, as far as,
It does need your approval.
The approval or
It
recommendation?
does need an approval, it just needs a recommendation. Now, I'm kind of confused as to which, do y'all want to bring it back so y'all can make, because you haven't voted on it. today,
Right,
So,
I'd like to table it
Now-
time certain to review it on its own.
now, I mean, you could bring it back, but ultimately, the decision whether it's for or against just is gonna go to council, and I mean,
Right.
As far as town halls and whatnot, I mean, I think that's.
So, Mr. Chairman, that would be my recommendation, that we do make that recommendation to council.
Exactly.
That they hold on to it, push it back to us for a town hall or workshop or something of that nature. That's our recommendation to council, because that's who we're recommending to. I don't think that we have the authority to tell them, you can't go to council with it. But I do think that we can make that recommendation to council that says,
Without a recommendation from
Well,
us.
we do need a recommendation, I believe, to move it forward to
Right.
council, and I don't think there's been a recommendation here today yet, or at least there's no motion on the floor for a
We
recommendation.
haven't had enough time to review.
Right, how are you gonna
We
make
just
a
started
recommendation?
to-
And that's what I'm saying, so if you can bring it back for a meeting here, I mean, if
But
you'd
does that-
like to make a recommendation.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
the recommendation I'd like, would you just?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
does that preclude staff from taking it to council?
It does, because they don't have a recommendation from P and Z yet, and it's a land use regulation, so it needs to come to P and
If
Z.
it requires our recommendation to go forward.
They need
then
a
Then I'm in
recommendation in order for it to move forward to council, because it's a land use regulation.
request a special meeting.
Right. Again, I'd like to make a recommendation, close the public hearing and make a recommendation to have this time certain on its own.
Second.
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 I would agree.
So we have
If it requires it.
we have a motion by Commissioner Barron and a second by Commissioner Cantu. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
When's the next council meeting? Monday, so you're gonna have to have it by Monday, basically.
Was it much good?
No,
making a
it just,
presentation
it won't, it's not gonna go to city council on Monday.
It's not going?
No, not without a recommendation.
Not without a recommendation.
The thing
I
is
guess I
that,
just wanna clarify, I'm assuming you're saying you wanna direct staff to have a special meeting? Because we
Yes.
have to have other items on our regularly scheduled meetings.
Oh, but that's, I mean, the
We can't
motion,
have-
if I understood the motion correctly, and the second correctly, is that we want to hold it here and have a.
Which you can,
Without-
however, on our regularly scheduled meetings, we have
Which is
items
fine.
that have to go forward. So it cannot be by itself.
And we can't have a meeting by itself for this item?
If
Like-
I understand, you're correct. You're saying time certain means the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Well-
At the next regularly scheduled meeting,
No,
other
I'd like to
items
have
will go forward.
as soon as we can host a meeting for this item.
it could
What's-
be an afternoon or something.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, if I tell anybody here, engineers, raise up your hand. You know, how many of you knew about this ordinance? If you didn't have an item today, that you
They
had
all-
to read the
They all
item.
knew about it, they're just, yeah.
No, just
If
tell
they
me
didn't,
which,
they're not good.
tell me
They're
how
not good.
many, tell me how many
They're good at their job.
didn't know about it. Raise a hand.
All right.
They all knew about it, of course.
No sabían, mira, no quieren levantar la mano, pero no sabían.
Yes, so, Vanessa, how's the motion for the next available meeting? How would we, you'd have to notice, it would be how many days?
Well, 72 hours. We would have to
72
have
hours.
72 hours, and we would just basically post, and the Parks Department, I guess, would appear.
And how would you recommend we make that motion to do that?
That you motion to direct staff to have a special meeting, and in order to, I guess,
Make a
have this meeting,
recommendation.
consider
No.
this item.
Okay.
Now, would the special meeting be just for this item alone, or you still?
That's, according to his motion, it seems like that's what I understand.
Yes.
And we would probably, staff would recommend a poll to determine who will be available and what day.
Okay, thank you.
Do you wanna,
We just need more time to study that, that's it.
so do you wanna,
Would we
you
be able
have
to
you
put
have
it
to
on the
amend your
next?
motion?
Would you recommend we amend the motion of time certain to a special meeting as soon as possible?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna do a special meeting, I would say bring it back as many times as you like at your regular meeting. You know, they can come back at your regular meeting and present and go, you know, attack it section by section. If you, I don't know that there's any, time limitation, do you have a time issue? So you could bring it back at the table it, bring it back at the next meeting.
No, but the
and-
next meeting could have other
So next
items.
meeting- the next meeting-
That's correct.
Right, I'd rather, just this item.
That's up to the commission.
All right, so yeah,
What about the subcommittee that you mentioned, Mr. Barron? Like, maybe some of us meet
I think we wouldn't
with
need to post or anything, we could just schedule a meeting as a subcommittee,
the subcommittee.
and it would be three people that would,
Maybe meet with some of
Some of the,
And
what's
then
it,
this
private
item-
sector.
can come back again at the next regular P and Z.
we could do that also.
Yeah.
Yes.
That way we don't inconvenience
So
staff.
is the motion staying as stated and voted?
Yeah, it did need to change.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, I forgot what
The motion
What
is,
is it?
do I need to, since I said time certain, do I need to go back and say?
yeah, so are we doing a subcommittee or a special meeting?
We're gonna bring this item back in our next meeting.
Okay, so
We'll
table
meet before
to the next meeting.
and have a recommendation.
So the motion would be, do I need to take back my motion? No?
No.
Okay.
It's
I
to bring
think
it
it was
back to the
just
next meeting.
second.
Yeah.
I think it was just seconded, right? Y'all didn't vote on it.
No voting yet, we're
Oh, you
second.
didn't vote on it? Pardon me.
No.
Okay, so then yes, you would need to
Amend,
amend? Would it be amend?
amend.
Amend the
He didn't
motion?
make the motion, the motion came from this side.
Yeah,
He seconded the motion.
just
He
to
No, I made the
the
motion.
You made the motion.
Yeah, I
The
second.
table
He seconded
time
the motion.
certain.
So I'll bring back my motion, to be able to, amend it to say a direct special meeting just for park ordinance, whether it's subcommittees or on its own,
Oh,
to have the option to have both.
I mean, I feel like it kind of has to be one or the other. Either you're gonna do the subcommittees or you're gonna have a special meeting to make
I
a
think it's
recommendation at that
subcommittee.
special meeting.
I think it's subcommittee because we do need the
So we
private
can review
sector
it.
to be involved, because they're the ones.
To have a subcommittee meeting, do we need, we can just do that at any point?
If you
right?
wanna have subcommittee, that can be whenever, so that can be done before the
Okay,
next,
then I'll leave my motion
September
to-
5th is the next, I believe, the next
Yeah.
scheduled planning and zoning meeting.
We'll
So
do
you
it.
want to move this item to that day, and then you guys will just have subcommittee meetings in between? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
Next.
Will y'all make a motion to form the subcommittee? Who will be on
Yeah.
it?
So,
Separate motion?
Yes. Yes.
So let's,
Let's vote on this one.
so let's close this one. Take the motion and second,
Time certain.
and then we'll make a second motion to that, to create the subcommittee.
so we have a motion,
Motion on the floor was, to postpone, time certain.
and we have a second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries.
Motion to create a subcommittee to explore the new parks ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you want to select,
That's the chairman, that's your call.
Excuse me, Judge Gomez, for the Parks and Rec, can the subcommittee also include Parks
Claro.
Advisory?
Claro.
Yeah.
Parks Advisory Committee members as well,
Yes,
so that we can, all collaborate?
exactly.
can the subcommittee be a full quorum or has it be less than a quorum?
To be posted, it has to be a full
would think
quorum.
it's
I mean,
That's
typically
right.
subcommittees are
less.
less than a
Less than a
quorum.
quorum, so there's no public, okay, so it has to
Tiene
be
que ser cuatro.
four. So who would like to be part of the subcommittee? 1, 2, 3, okay. 4, so we have Commissioner Paz, Cantu,
Barrón.
Barron, and Benavides.
¿Y tú?
That's fine.
And one alternate.
We're not
I'll be the
limited.
alternate in
You can
case
be the, yeah.
Okay.
doesn't show up.
I can be the alternate, if you, if you prefer.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
I'll be here.
Yeah, let him make,
Mr. Belmontes is the alternate.
I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
Perfect. Can we move on?
So can we, motion on those commissioners for the subcommittee?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries.
A darle. Tercero.
Moving on to item 6C.
Motion to open public hearing 6C. Sure.
Public hearing recommendation, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Public hearing recommendation on adoption of the updated future thoroughfare plan as Appendix D of the City of Laredo's comprehensive plan.
Good evening, Rafael Vidal will be presenting this item.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rafael Vidal for the record of planning staff. So we went ahead and met with multiple people on putting this item together. And we periodically or yearly review the thoroughfare plan and make recommendations or bring them over to P&Z. It's an incremental process, so we do have some changes. But let's go ahead and get started with the initial. This is the overview map, and I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but we'll go through each individual one. But this is the overview map here. Now, these are some of the proposed changes, or the proposed changes in the South Laredo area. We did meet with TxDOT for some of their proposed alignments for the area south of Rio Bravo and a little bit to the east of Rio Bravo. So it's a little bit hard to see on this map, so let me go ahead and bring up Google Earth. Here's some you can see these. There we go. So first of all, we've got a little bit of a realignment for the area south of Rio Bravo for the, I guess this would be the outer loop. So this, in the large darker line is the new alignment, and here the blue line is the old. Next up, we have a realignment of the Cuatro Vientos coming down this way. This was the original. And then an additional roadway, this is Espejo Molina Road coming out of Rio Bravo and then connecting this way. Next up, we have a partial minor arterial that we already have in place, and we're boosting it up to a principal arterial on the east side of the expressway. The east side of Highway 83. This is an area that is also in desperate need of connectivity, so as the development comes along, it'll be a big help for that area. So here we have the Rio Bravo area, and it's proposed to follow along Highway 83 on the west side between the 83 and the river, and connecting to the future up to this point. Next up, we have a change in realignment of a collector and a minor arterial. This is up in the Unitic area, and this is based on some of the development that's coming down the pike and some new roadways that are being built. So let me show that there. sets up in this area. So this line here is being eliminated because it's being shifted down. This section of this roadway up to this point is currently under construction, actually. And then we have this connection over to the east.
¿Cuál es eso? ¿Pero cuál es?
Oh, this is over in Unitech. Let me zoom out. So, this is the Unitech area. This is the Majestic area. And this area is right in here. For increased connectivity and traffic flow. Next up, we have an extension of a industrial collector within the Majestic area. So we have it right here. The thick purple line is the new section to align it and to connect it with the outer loop area.
¿Dónde está?
Additionally is this extension of this principal arterial, again, out to the outer loop this time. So that would be this line out here. Next up, we have a realignment. There's a little bit of a issue here with an existing sewer plant. So this is also in the Unitech area. This is right here. Some of this area is available for future right-of-way purposes for the road.
Rafa, dale un poquito más para abajo.
Ah, perdón.
Ahí, en donde está el amarillo que habías puesto ahorita. Está por Majestic y este.
Down here.
Ahí. Hazle para así hacia arriba. Creo que ahí está una subestación de luz, ¿no? Aquí.
Sí, aquí no.
¿No habrá problema ahí?
No, but it's going around it. It's to go around it. Yeah, because that facility is already there.
¿Y los postes de luz que están ahí?
This way.
Esa es la estación de luz, ¿no?
Este de aquí. So we've got this increase for an existing minor arterial to a principal arterial, which is this one running here. This realignment, I believe this is the United Boulevard, and to shift it a little bit to the north. That is over in this area. The current alignment goes down this way, and we're proposing over to align with the Killam Industrial Boulevard.
Ahí se ve mejor.
Shift it,
Que
shift
aquí
it
no
up a
se ve
little bit.
tanto, ¿verdad? Aquí no se entiende muy bien. Se ve mejor allá.
And the last item, lastly, this is the extension of Springfield Boulevard over to the loop. This is actually a project that should be coming online in the not too distant future. That is right here. Highlighted in red. And those are our proposed changes.
Rafa, just a recommendation, again, we got the packet on Tuesday, and when I was looking at the packet, I couldn't, some of the maps I couldn't tell specifically where it was, and it would have been really helpful, like if I would have gotten an aerial of why, the reasoning, right? Like, we're making these changes, but why are we making them? Sometimes it's because of future growth, or because you guys see that the master plan just doesn't show that route, which would help justify the reasons on why, we're making these recommendations. But I didn't have this for this packet.
So what you're saying, you would have preferred like a KMZ file like this to?
Right, like kind of just to see the plan, because really, not too many, but some I was just familiar with, but
Right.
but a lot I wasn't. And then I know also, going online is a thoroughfare plan capable to log in and be able to zoom in and out of those, like over an aerial, to be able to see how it's going.
Over an aerial? I mean, we could probably do something like that. I think if I'm not mistaken, on the.
Like kind of like you have it here, it'd be nice to see, right, in the future, right, to be able to see, oh yeah, this is how these lines are going. Because I think that would be beneficial to some of the property owners, because they would be able to have some input and say, you know what, it may not be a good idea to put a thoroughfare thoroughfare line here, even though it's just a guide, right? But it would be beneficial if there's power lines or a lake or
Right.
whatever, something that
Right, this is,
would help.
we put this together on the best available data. Again, we coordinate with Textile, we coordinate with some of the developments that we see coming forward, their master plans and so on and so forth.
Right.
Esa era mi segunda pregunta, porque digo yo lo que es Unitech, todo lo que
Sí.
tenga que ver con bodegas, pues yo más o menos le intelijo, pero sí me preocupa que hemos ya autorizado muchos, ¿cómo se dice? No planos, ¿cómo se dice?
Sí, muchos
Master
fraccionamientos.
plans, muchos fraccionamientos a futuro y que no les vaya a afectar a ellos cuando ya tienen vendidas esas propiedades, o sea, hace 1 año y medio, 2 años, me acuerdo perfecto de ahí porque es en donde cruza las vías y que queríamos un overpass y todo, ¿verdad? En la milla 13, ¿verdad? Y pues a lo mejor todas esas, toda ese tierra ya está subdividida y comprada por otras partes, ¿verdad? Entonces, sí creo que la comunicación tiene que ser clave con las personas que están desarrollando, ¿verdad? Para que no afecte los planes a futuro que ya hemos aprobado. O sea, sí, eso es lo único que me da pendiente, ¿verdad?
Entendido.
Eso es lo único.
And Rafa, I guess it's really important, I think, it's great to be able to see how the roadways are gonna work. But like, for example, right now, I know there's a lot of folks here, again, I have to say that, here for zoning cases, plats, parks, and I hate to rush through things, right? Because I have questions here, and I feel rushed to even ask, because I do feel bad for the folks that are here to do it, right? Again, it's a public hearing, we can be here till 10 o'clock, or I don't know, whatever time we need to, right? But in the future, I would hope that we can address this kind of like again, whether we form a subcommittee for these type of things, and then look at it, or we have its own meeting, a special meeting for something like this, so we can have a lot of time to be able to look at it. Like, for example, the first change that you had in the south for that area, Rafa, and just because I'm curious, because I was looking at it, I know the existing thoroughfare plan had it connecting and ending up in Rio Bravo, right?
That is correct, yes.
And then the change now, it kind of goes
Goes to the east,
goes
right.
east and then comes back. Well, and you may have explained the reason, but I
Sure,
didn't.
so certainly for these changes that we have outlined here in this particular area, this was all based on conversations we had with TxDOT. TxDOT shared these maps with us.
Right.
And these are this is how they are proposing to make those realignments.
Do you know what the reason was? Like,
I do not know specifically what the reasons are, but they are looking at the future growth and future connectivity for the area. Rio Bravo and El Cenizo, while they are their own incorporated cities, I've seen developments. I mean, the county did recently put out they're doing a health center on there, so they see traffic, and also for the development of the La Presa Colonia. So they need additional areas to get in and out of. So I'm assuming that in TxDOT, in their evaluations, that's what they came up with, those proposals to realign them like that and add those additional roadways.
right, like, I guess those are questions that I would.
I understand.
A more concrete answer as far as.
Understand.
Oh, the reason is because they've already started the design work and it worked out better, the surface is flatter, or whatever the case may be. But, because it makes sense just to loop in and connect the way it had been, right? And now coming out like that, outward, and again, I'm sure they have a good reason. I was just trying to get the answers for that. Plus, the other is like the second page, we're going with a minor, and then we're proposing, I guess, a principal,
That is correct.
just because you guys foresee more traffic on there?
We do foresee some development there in that area.
And was that TxDOT, or was it the city that was thinking of?
That was the city.
Okay.
That was our internal. So we have had some proposals come in or looking at area of the development immediately north of Rio Bravo. And we wanted to have some additional connectivity because as congestion occurs more and more along Highway 83, we want to be able to provide an alternative, especially for Rio Bravo, having to go out off to the east, having to be able to stay on the west side and then be able to come into town. So, they're
Yeah,
challenges.
that makes sense.
Yeah, they're challenges, so.
Yeah,
But I really appreciate the input. I mean, that's what we're all here for.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, you know, I kind of feel that this is a document that's complex and requires a lot of scrutiny, a lot of review. And it almost bears the very same type of treatment that we're giving the ordinance for parks, right? And I think this ought to come back to subcommittee and possibly have input from a lot of stakeholders. I mean, I think it's even a wider group of stakeholders for the thoroughfare plan than there is for parks. But if after, you know, we're through with the public hearing, we decide to close this, I think that's going to be my recommendation, is that we bring this back to either this body or create another subcommittee specifically for this, because this does have a lot of impacts. And there are other groups out there that are looking at this. The RMA is going to look at it, you know, the TxDOT's looking at it. A lot of us are going to have to weigh in on it, as well as all the folks, you know, the MPO and others that would need to have some input to this. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the commission? Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor or in regards to this agenda item?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Ricardo Villarreal, Topside Civil Group. While I like the recommendation that's coming through, or at least what Commissioner Belmonte said, I'm impelled to talk about this item because it actually affects my item later on tonight, where this change in this thoroughfare plan is actually going through already master plan property, already platted property, and already recorded property. So those constraints, when something is added like this, especially when we already have a plan laid out for over a year already, it affects, you know, future development. It affects the way we master plan, how serious we treat our master plans. I won't get too detailed into it, but we would definitely, as representatives of landowners, we'd be all in on sitting down with staff, TxDOT, RMA, MPO, just to kind of give our input, not only on the planning end, but also on the engineering end. We have topography, we have drainage, we have, you know, utilities, gas lines that if we see on an aerial, you don't know they're there. And I like to say we're the biggest resource for that. So if we can also include that in the future, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. This is a public hearing. Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor in regards to this agenda item? Maybe there's no other comments.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing and we remand this back to a subcommittee of your making.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
I'd like to say that subcommittee.
Okay.
Motion that, I'd like to make a motion that we create a subcommittee to review the thoroughfare master plan.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. So commission, we need a subcommittee of four. So we have Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Belmontes.
I can be the alternate.
Portillo needs to be involved in this.
El Portillo, ándale tú.
The four that didn't do the other one, did the other.
Sí, claro.
Go for it. Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So then we have Commissioner Portillo.
That's a good one.
Commissioner Belmontes, Commissioner Garcia.
Y allá,
Here.
y alternate cualquiera de los tres.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other state?
Okay.
Of course, Commissioner Martinez isn't here, but we could always volunteer.
All right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Against?
We didn't catch it.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Portillo, Commissioner Belmontes, Commissioner Garcia, and then we have Commissioner
Cáceres.
Cáceres for the subcommittee.
Y alternative cualquiera de los tres, pero me puedes poner a mí. ¿Quieres?
Moving on to item 6D.
Motion to open public hearing number 6D.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 2.66 acres as further described by meets and bounds and attached Exhibit A located at 26811 FM 1472 from AG Agricultural District to M1 Light Manufacturing District.
¿Quién lo va a presentar?
The PowerPoint.
¿Ah?
We're waiting for the PowerPoint to.
¿Y quién?
The PowerPoint.
We're waiting for the PowerPoint,
Difficult
for them to bring up the PowerPoint.
Ah, ok. Y yo.
issue?
We can go old school and get the map on the,
We don't
the
even
map.
have any map, no?
I got one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have Terava and Ramona Cien as the owner. We have Terra South Engineering and Gilberto Gonzalez as the representative. Property location is approximately 2.66 acres, located at 26811 FM 1472. Zone change request is from an AG to an M1. Proposed use is warehouse storage. Letters set were 7. We have none for, none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zone change signage. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this item?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Gilberto Gonzalez, Terra South Engineering, and we are in favor of the zone change.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
No.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak against this item?
Mr. Chairman, motion to close public hearing and approve as, subject to staff comments.
We have a motion and a
Second.
second by Commissioner Sarapas. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Item 6E.
Motion to open public, hearing 6E.
A motion and second by Commissioner Sarapas. All in favor?
All right.
Amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 7, Block 2032, Eastern Division, located at 3222 Santa Clara Street, from R3 Mixed Residential District to B1 Limited Business District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have Raimundo Alzana Barba as the owner. Property location, Lot 7, Block 2032, Eastern Division, located at 3222 Santa Clara Street. Zone change request is an R3 to B1. Proposed use is for laundry dry cleaning. Letter sent for 40, we have none for and none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zone change signage. Zoning map. Future land use map.
Okay.
And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this item? Is the applicant here? Oh.
Raimundo Ibarra, trying to get rezone to a B1 and possibly install a laundromat in the future.
I did have a question. Do you know, how many square feet the building will be?
Yes, we have the architect sent me not a final draft, but I can project.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Yes, sir.
It's 1,800 square feet.
All right.
So it's going to be a building, and we'll be installing the equipment, probably between 60 to 80 machines. They'll be separated into dryers and washers.
I know the lot, I don't know if it will, the only concern is parking for the
Right,
business, right? But that should be addressed with the building
Right,
department.
right.
But I know they mentioned something like, for every 200 feet, you're gonna need a space, right? Is that right, Vanessa?
I'd have
So
to
you
check
would need,
it.
like, 8 spaces?
Typically, for commercial spaces, you're right, it's about 250, 200, one space for every 250 square feet.
So it probably need 8 spaces, but I don't know, depending on the business, if you may
Yes,
be required more spaces.
Okay. We
Because
look
of,
into it, and we probably will have between 10 to 11 parking spaces. So the architect came up with the numbers.
Just because there is, some mixed, family and
Right, right, right.
apartment and residential area, and I know staff's recommending that, Ejido's kind of transitioning there.
Right, right.
but-
So the property has two entrances, one in Ejido and one through Santa Clara. So that's another option. We can go whatever you guys recommend.
Right. Yeah, I would probably recommend that.
That's fine.
That the city, decide that. But again, the concern there is really to make sure we have sufficient parking for the B1 districts, right?
Yeah, to answer that concern,
Yeah.
when, this is simply the zone change, this does not guarantee approval of any building permit.
Right.
So, after, the zone change, if the zone change goes through, then they would submit for their building
Yeah, right.
permits or certificates of occupancy for new business. They would have to construct in this case, and at that point, they would review parking. If they could not meet parking or any other, dimensional or performance standard or building code requirement, they would either have to amend or be denied.
Now, Vanessa, the other thing, thank you, sir. The other thing I noticed is that it mentioned something about 46 feet of frontage is required for a B1 zone, right? But in the communication, I guess, I don't know, that's 45.77, so I don't know if within your communication, it makes sense that it's not meeting the 46 feet, and if you want to have it.
You are correct. For B1, you do need a 46. I don't think we had noticed that. We typically see them at the 46. So they're off by, I think we could probably round up the 45.77.
Yes,
I don't know how many inches that would be.
Make it work.
Math? Anybody good with math? Anybody
3
good with
inches.
math? I think in this case, the standard would be you round up. So if it's past the 0.5, you would round up. So I think it'd be
okay.
Well, let's round up for everybody.
We sure will. 45, we've got 45.96,
As long as we're fair with every
I
other
know.
applicant that comes here to ask for that, and we treat everybody the same.
I mean, we'll look at it, and if they don't meet it, we'll definitely, adjust our position.
Before it goes to council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have another shot at that. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission?
No.
Anyone who would speak against this item? Seems to be no other comments.
Motion to, I want to.
Make a recommendation to close public hearing and go with staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron, second by Commissioner Sala Paz. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Moving on to item 6F.
Motion to open public hearing 6F.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor? Amending the zoning ordinance map of Cedar Laredo by authorizing the issuance of a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol on Lot 3, Block 1, Del Mar North Filing Number 1, located at 7718 McPherson Road, Building 2, Suite 2, expansion of 2,795 square feet only.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have Falcon International Bank as the owner, Border Foundry Restaurant as the applicant, and Richard Mims as the representative. Property location, Lot 3, Block 1, Del Mar North Filing Number 1, located at 7718 McPherson Road, Building 2, Suite 2, for the expansion of 2,795 square feet only. The zone change request is for a special use permit. Proposed use is the SUP for the expansion of an existing legal non-conforming restaurant serving alcohol. Letter sent, we're 33. We have none for, and we do have an update of 1 against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zone change signage. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this item? Is the applicant here today?
Not sure. Do you recognize him? No. Oftentimes we speak to these people just on the phone, so. But they were advised. Absolutely, they were advised.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this item? Against?
Good evening, for the record, Henry Colomna.
How you doing at One Smith?
So, I didn't know you could get Google Earth, so I didn't know, so I got some pictures. I don't know. So, back in back in 2006, when I bought that property, Mr. Smith here.
Yeah, I've been there since '89, so it's been a long time. And
Which is your property?
So for the record, this is my property, right here in the corner.
Okay.
This is my house, and this is Mr. Smith's house.
Okay.
So again, going back in 2006 when I bought there was no Falcon Bank, there was no strip mall, there was no border foundry. All this was just land. Back in the day when I got the notice for this restaurant that has been there for I don't know how many years, I said, you know what, it's just a restaurant, it's not gonna cause us any harm. Speed up to 2020, I don't know when this started. I don't know how permits work. I know that they have their alcohol permit, but I don't know whether when they get an alcohol permit, they have to come and get a permit for music, that's my main issue and concern, as well as Mr. Smith. I know that I did try to talk to my other neighbors that live around because they also go through the same issue of the noise. For years, like I said, I don't know if they have if you need to acquire a permit for the noise or for the music. For years that we've been going through this problem. So last year, for the record, when they opened up the Colmena bar, we were here because I thought that this extension was gonna be for that bar, but it turns out that it wasn't, that it was further down.
On the other side.
Yes. So basically, we're here for that, for this problem that we've had for many years. Of course, this is the entrance of Border Foundry. I'm not advertising, just for the record. So this is a picture I took a couple of days ago. This is actually a picture from the front of the patio where they have their karaoke Wednesdays and Thursdays. And this door right here, or this white cinder block fence, that's my property, right? So I measured from the from the front of the patio to the door, and pretty much I used the app though, so it's pretty much 131 feet with 8 inches, right? But that's from the front of the patio to this little gate door that I have there. I also measured from the entrance of my house, which is the gate, to where my house is, and that's 74 feet. 74 feet, 5 inches. That's a total of 206 feet. Even though their patio where they play their loud music it faces east. I mean, our music travels in a weird way that when it's past 11 o'clock, we still hear the music. I mean, it doesn't, I'm not saying my TV's rattling or something's moving in my head, but like the last time that I was here, I have a teenager at the house. I have a 14-year-old and I have a 17-year-old that still go to school, and I don't think that's fair that we have to go through this like every Wednesdays and Thursdays, and sometimes even on Fridays and Saturdays. I did talk to the owner, I think it was last year, and I did let him know, look, sir, this is what's going on. He said, oh, okay, I'll talk to the guy that's at night. Apparently the gentleman or the manager that's there at night, I think I'm not too sure if it's his son, but of course, you know, if you're making money, who cares about complaints, right? Also for the record, he's been there more time than me. I guess we thought this was gonna, kind of like go down or take care of itself, but apparently it's just getting worse. So now that this extension is being, supported by, you know, whoever has been supported, I don't think it's fair on our behalf and on the behalf of the neighbors that weren't able to make it here, that we have to go through this, like I said, maybe 3-4 days out of the week. When it's Monday through Friday that my girls have to go to school the next day.
Supposedly there's a 300 feet easement there, and it's used for parking. Most of it is parking. But still, when we get that southeast wind blowing, seems like every day, all that sound comes to us. And sometimes even after 2 in the morning. Sometimes the workers come in and they close up shop, and then they party, can continue partying after 2 in the morning. And you could see them outside in the parking area.
So going back to Mr. Smith, right? Like I said, this is my house right here. This is his house. I mean, from here to here, it's 206 feet. I mean, from here to his house is probably even further down, and he can even still hear the music. Even this neighbor over here, also, because I've talked to him recently, and he said that he also hears the music again. So I don't know where the empathy of the owner plays along in this, world, because, I mean, apparently, after I told him that I had 2 kids that two teenagers that go to school, apparently it just came in through here and not through here, right? The day that I took the pictures, the guys from Olympia, I believe, they were cutting the grass and cleaning the area there. And as you can see, this is what we also have to put up with, all the trash. I don't know if you can see the cans, the beer cans. So everybody that goes there goes to have fun, eat, and drink, right? Whether the noise is loud or whatever, they don't care. This is the other picture of that same day. This is, my gates over here to the left. But as you can see, there's all the trash that people throw there, like if it's I don't know if that's how they have their homes or their backyards, and I don't think, again, it's fair. Going back to some of the stuff, if I may ask, when we go get a city permit, you know, we have to go through an ordinance, right? Pretty much. So an ordinance is part of a rule, a law, a policy, whatever it is. I know that when, again, the owner started remodeling this other place, which was before it was Prem Spa, I don't think he ever took out a permit to start remodeling, because I know that there were supposedly some people that went. Apparently, there's no citations of him doing the remodeling, right? 6 years ago, I built my pool. 6 years ago, I built my palapa. 6 years ago, I built my front carport. And I went through the proper way of doing things and getting permits. And y'all can go and search under my name or the company's name that did my stuff, and I'm pretty sure they're there. Again, I don't see why this gentleman, either he's on top of the law or how he does it or who he knows, which I don't think that's also fair in my belief. Because if I'm a tax-paying citizen, I don't see why he has that power to say, oh yeah, just start remodeling and doing whatever you want to do because I'm so-and-so, right? I don't think that's right.
I'm gonna Because we usually have a 3-minute limit on the comments.
I'm sorry?
We have a 3-minute limit on comments, and you kind of
Okay.
went over the time.
All right.
So in retrospect to your, the noise situation, that would fall under a code enforcement situation.
That's correct, that's correct. If there's any concerns with regard to the cleanliness of the site, 311, we encourage everyone to call 311, and we can send out the appropriate department to, you know, review the cleanliness or any other issues
That is not my
associated
concern.
with that
My
site.
concern is the noise. That's my concern.
We understand.
So that
I
would be,
just-
that would be an enforcement situation where you would have to call code enforcement. They would come in, give a citation or a warning. Of course, after several warnings, they get a citation.
And how do you measure the noise?
Decibels.
Decibels.
Noise
Exactly.
decibels.
How do you
So
measure that?
there's a decibel meter that they could use.
And who has those?
The code enforcement or police. It could either
So
be.
at 11 o'clock in the morning, at night, or at 12 o'clock at night, I call the number, which is what number?
311 or you
311,
can
and they're
also-
open?
311,
You can
in
call
that case, it
the-
would probably be
Non-emergency.
to the
The
police.
non-emergency.
It would be a noise complaint to the
Again,
police.
you're telling me that at 11 o'clock, somebody's gonna answer
For the
code
police,
enforcement?
yes.
Police,
No,
yes. It
y'all are
could be-
saying code enforcement, right?
During
I'm
the
just-
day, for code, it's.
I'm talking about at night, Ms. Guerra. I'm not
It would
talking
be,
about
it would be the police. You would call the police.
So then pretty much, I guess this is a lost battle for.
No, it's not a lost
No.
battle. All we're just saying is right now, what they're coming here before is for the extension of, the work that they did. So they opened 2,700 square feet. The patio situation's not in this.
That's, like I said,
Agenda item. So
and I understand, again, going back to when they got their license, their permit, whatever, to open up the restaurant. Was there something there where, oh, now you can play karaoke Wednesdays and Thursdays, and who cares about the neighbors, right?
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes.
definitely like to address that.
Yes.
Just to give a little bit of background on this case, there was an ordinance that was adopted in 2013 that provides and requires special use permits, meaning an overlay over and above the base zoning for restaurants serving alcohol. This restaurant, it seems, they started prior to 2013. So restaurants serving alcohol at that time were allowed. They were allowed if they meet all the building code requirements, dimensional and zoning performance standards. But in this case, since they're expanding what's considered a legal non-conforming use, for the expansion, they need the special use permit for the restaurant, for a restaurant serving alcohol. So in this case, we're able to impose conditions on the expanded area. What they have related to us is that patio that's in the back will not be included within the special use
For
permit.
now, hopefully.
They've told us, they've related to us that patio at the back, closest to your property, will be used for storage. Is that correct? That's what they have related to us. They will be used only for storage, and we have already recommended conditions that stipulate that and this will only apply to the expanded areas. These conditions don't apply to the original restaurant. So, but we did include conditions to address noise nuisance. So in the condition, it says there shall be no ground vibrations created or sustained on the site which are perceptible without instruments, meaning you can't hear them. You should not need an instrument to hear them at any point on any property adjoining the subject property, right? So we want to prevent those ground vibrations. And then any outdoor music shall be it has to comply with the city's noise nuisance. And that's why the noise nuisances after hours are enforced by the police department.
And just for the record, my 14-year-old, she's a special needs child. So just one last, I guess, thing that I would like to say. And thank you for listening to us, and hopefully, we'll see how it goes.
I have one final comment before
Yes, ma'am.
you leave, sir. So I struggled with something similar with a baby, and there was a restaurant that was pretty far from me, but the noise traveled to my home. So for many nights, I would call the non-emergency police line, and they would show up, and they would give warnings and then citations. So eventually, that problem stopped. So I do think that there's a solution, and hopefully you don't have to deal with this for a long time.
you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone else? Anyone else who wish to speak in favor or against this item?
Motion to close the public hearing and support staff's recommendation.
Second.
As, with stipulations that are in the conditions.
Oh, also, we wanted to include another stipulation that the outdoor patio to the rear will not be included. We just want to clarify that outdoor patio is not going to be used for patrons, and no music will be allowed to emanate from that
Drinking or
outdoor
smoking,
patio.
it's just not going to be.
Yeah, that it's not included within the scope of the special use permit, and so the outdoor music will not be allowed at that location.
So my motion is amended with that caveat.
Thank
We have a motion by Commissioner Bermudez and a second by Commissioner Portillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6G.
Motion to open public hearing 6G.
You have a motion? Yeah, second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 16.5161 acres located east of US Highway and north of La Pita Magana from AG Agricultura to B4 Highway Commercial District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have Cielo Vista Laredo LLC as the owner. We have Pat Murphy as the applicant, Slay Engineering, and Ramiro Ibarra as a representative. Property location is approximately 16.5161 acres located east of US Highway 83 and north of La Pita Mangana. Zone change request is AG to B4. Proposed use is commercial. However, the applicant did not specify the specific proposed use. Letter sent, we're 6, we have none for, none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zone change signage. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members, commissioners. My name is Ramiro Ibarra from Slay Engineering, and I concur with the recommendation from staff. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for the engineer?
No.
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak against this item? Are there any questions from the commission?
No. Motion to support, close public hearing and go with staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Salapaz. Second. Second by Commissioner Bermudez. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Motion to open public hearing 6H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Item 6H. Amending the zoning ordinance map for the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 3737 acres located east of US Highway 83 and north of La Pita Magana Road from AG Agriculture to D3 Community Business District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have Cielo Vista Laredo LLC as the owner, Pat Murphy as the applicant, Slay Engineering, and Ramiro Ibarra as the representative. Property location is approximately 35.3737 acres, located east of US Highway 83 and north of La Pita Mangana. Zone change request is an AG to a B3. Proposed use is commercial. However, the applicant did not specify the specific proposed use. Letter sent were 8. We have none for, none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zone change signage. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. It's a public hearing.
Again, my name is Ramiro Ibarra from Slay Engineering. We concur with the recommendation from staff. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions?
No.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak against this item?
Motion to close public hearing and go with staff recommendation.
Okay, motion, and a second by Commissioner Cantu. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Moving on to review and consideration of the following master plan. Item 7A, review and consideration of Las Morelas Industrial Park Master Plan. The intent is industrial.
Yes, for the record, the applicant is Hurt Urban Development, engineer is KCI Technologies, proposed use is industrial. The zoning for this 13-lot development is M1. Location view, aerial view, the proposed master plan, staff comments planning, fire, traffic safety, and the proposed motion.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and staff. Ivan Morales with KCI. I come to represent our client, Herd. I did talk to planning department yesterday regarding the comments that we received for the master plan. I'd like to discuss with you all about them. First comment that we had gotten was to reconfigure the Street A, which runs south to north, and they were mentioning to us that they would want us to shorten that road, but instead we discussed with Mr. Vidali about extending that road up to the end of the property and lead it up to future development up to that end of the road. So we went ahead and reviewed that comment and went forward with extending the road up to the end. And also the second comment I wanted to discuss with y'all is that we are going forward with our master plan on going forward with showing what the thoroughfare plan shows on the item that was previously mentioned. Previously, it did mention that the thoroughfare plan would connect to Tres Equis, but instead the thoroughfare plan would show that now connect to Killam. So just wanted to mention that we're following the comments as per our meeting that we had with the traffic department on that. And other than that, we do concur with the comments.
I did have a question, I guess. Rafa, I don't know, or if you can show the map up on the projector. Master plan.
I'm waiting for that.
Yeah, because that was just one question. The end of the roadway, I guess they're going, I guess to your left, to right, ended right there, right, to service those areas.
Yes.
But now you're saying you're going to go ahead and push that roadway all the way to
Up to
the end
of the
of
property.
that access. Yeah, that
That's
was
for recommendation from.
right. And I think that would help in case there's emergencies to be able to service those 4 lots there. For if there were ever a fire, God forbid, something like that, it'll be good to be able to have access there.
Perfect.
And then your second comment, I guess, was on the north to south, and is that going to align to Killam on the other side of the highway? Is that what that alignment is? A little pink area?
So we're reserving a right of way there for when it comes to us developing with the second phase. So right now we're working on the phase 1, but then phase 2 won't come until a couple years since we're doing the letter of map revision.
So that would be, I guess,
we'll be
a
separating
right
those
away for if the future,
Exactly, but we'll
if
be-
ever there's a Killam connection, and this roadway, I guess, in the thoroughfare plan was going to go further.
So I would like to address that concern. So we did meet with the engineer, and we also did meet with traffic. So one of the items that we proposed in the item with regards to the thoroughfare plan was in consultation with them. So we were adjusting the thoroughfare plan for their development at that point.
That's a good idea. Because right now, currently, if you come out of Killam Industrial, you go south, and then you have to make that, you have to kind of loop around. So eventually, hopefully, there would be an overpass too. Right.
So, yeah, and again, that's, we work with them, that's, those considerations are how we bring them forward.
That's good. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Are there any other questions, engineer? Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to close and approve, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Motion, second by Commissioner Alfaz, all in favor?
Aye.
against, motion carries. Moving on to item 8, need to reopen a public hearing, consideration of the following preliminary replats.
Motion to open public hearing 8A.
All in favor? Can I have a second? All in favor? Item 8A, public hearing and preliminary consideration of the replat of Lot 1A, Block 1, Laredo Country Club Clubhouse Plat into Lot 1A-1 and 1B, Block 1, Laredo Country Club Clubhouse Plat. The intent is a clubhouse.
Yes, for the record, the applicant is Laredo Country Club. The engineer is Howell Engineering and Surveying. The proposed use, it's an existing clubhouse. The zoning for this 2-lot development is R1. And we did notify, because it's an R1, so the letters were sent were 103. In favor 0, but against 38. Location view. Aerial view. As platted, the current plat on the left, and on the right is a replat proposal. Staff comments planning. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing.
Good evening, members of the commission. Mr. Chairman, Miguel Jimenez, Holland Engineering, engineer for this project. Just here to answer any questions you may have. I'm in favor of the plat.
Are there any questions for engineer?
No. Is this to be used for parking?
It is not. Well, yes, part of it. Yes, so part of
Can
the
you tell us
reason.
which part on
Yes,
the?
can we put it
Yeah.
on the screen?
You like the plat or you like the?
No, let's bring up Google Earth. I think it'll be a little
Yeah.
easier to do that. Excuse me. Just 1 second.
There we go. So we're adding this area right here, which would be used for additional parking, as well as this area.
Okay. Thank you. A question for staff. Do we have any concerns on, regarding light pollution for the additional parking and the lighting that it'll probably have?
Well, with regards to lighting, it would be whatever the ordinance calls for, as well as for the parking. Now, I did want to provide some feedback. We did receive some, because this is an R1s and a replatting, so we had some modification. The majority of the feedback that we received from the surrounding neighborhood was issues dealing with parking or overspill onto Glover Loop. So that was some of the primary concerns and issues of security and privacy. In our staff comments, we did include a request for a plat note that we want on there so that there would be no ingress and egress to Glover Loop. As we know, the country club sometimes has these events which generate a lot of traffic. So we would not want the traffic to spill over into that residential neighborhood. So we did put those comments in there.
Okay, and I would have assumed that the parking would have been enclosed anyway, since the country club has that private entrance that you have to go in through a security check.
Correct, and the intent is, yes, to keep it enclosed. We concur with comments, which was that comment to include that plat note. And there's also a representative from the country club that will, provide some assurance there as well.
Also, in regards to Glover Loop, as far as, I know they're gonna add a comment in the plat note, but is there some sort of barrier or something you all would be consider doing to keep people from actually crossing over and going into Glover?
I believe so, but I defer that to the representative.
Good evening, for the record, Guillermo Garcia here on behalf of the Laredo Country Club. If I can share this is a copy of the This is the deed that was filed already, a special warranty deed, July the 2nd. It says right there, July the 2nd of 2024. One of the, you can see one of the restrictions here that we put, the grantee, which is the Laredo Country Club, is agreeing to build a block material 6-foot fence right there. And also, it states here that the property through Glover Loop shall be reserved and limited for those providing emergency services and or servicing the utilities located thereon. And further on this deed, we further agree here to place on the property facing Glover Loop to be used only for local utility companies to access the easement. No vehicular traffic shall be allowed through the access. So currently there's a gate there, there's a metal gate that's locked, controlled by the Laredo Country Club. So any utilities that, anybody servicing the utilities can use it. That will be moved. So it'll be moved further down. The map shows it up here. It's on this screen. Oh, there it is. So over here, it's here right now, and it'll be moved over here to this point. And it's solely for utility access. And it'll be a person gate, not a car gate, is what's going to be there.
Okay, so not for emergency vehicles, but for access, like for pedestrian access.
Yes, I think the reference to emergencies, it's personnel probably, so if there's fire or any police officers that need to get through, that's probably what it's intended for when they refer to emergencies. Mainly it's for the utility people because there's an easement running through that area.
Got it.
Okay, so those have all been contemplated in the deed, and will be honored by the Laredo Country Club. And that deed has been filed already, recorded as part of the records.
What, and that's like for similar running, I guess, what is it, north to south or east to west as the current gate that's there, that metal gate? It'll be similar, but it'll just be pushed further.
Correct.
Right.
It'll be similar.
Would there anything be for the property owners on the sides as far as a fencing there, or is that being considered?
Yes, what we've agreed to is the 6-foot block fence, but I believe if any of the landowners in that area wanted something different, we would most likely accommodate whatever else they requested.
Right.
But as part of the deed record, the agreement was that we would build.
At least a 6-foot
block wall.
Right, perfect. And currently, the consideration is for the need of additional parking.
Correct.
That would be it. Now, would commercial parking require a zone change for this area? If it's currently zoned, or is zoning in an R1 allowed commercial parking?
I'd have to check it because it's going to become part of the country club, correct? And
Right.
if the country club is allowed in the R1 zone.
Like the country club, the use, right? The use of the country club, not
Yeah.
necessarily parking.
Yeah, because the parking goes
Part
along
of
with
the
the
country
principal use.
Right, not necessarily,
Correct. Yeah, the use of the country club is allowed in that zoning, so it's just adding to that.
even though it's parking.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Are there any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion.
I gotta it's a public hearing. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak,
Against?
and we can just limit the comments to 3 minutes per person, please.
Okay, just briefly, I live at 2910 Glover, which is the apex of the intersection of, I don't know if I can see this. Can you see my mark?
The one with the pool?
It's, if you go all the way down, Glover Loop at the end, I'm at the very end. But my concern is what the future use of that area under the power line will be. Will it be maintained as is, or will it be gravelled over or something? Sometimes they have extended parking down there. They use it for big events. Will that continue to be done? I'm not opposed to that, but I don't want to see it gravelled in more dust and dirt. So it says to stay on. Well, it was residential. It was zoned residential, and you're going to make it commercial. So are there any restrictions on what they can and can't do with that? You know, assume the utility
won't let you do much under the power line. The power line's on that side.
I guess we can have maybe the engineer answer that question for the gentleman.
Sure.
I believe we're talking about this strip right here.
Right.
The remainder. I mean, that's the association is keeping that remainder of the lot. So whatever conditions and the maintenance that you've been used to seeing, that it's going to remain the same.
It would be maintained by the homeowners association?
Yes, that's going to remain with the homeowners association. Correct. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I speak in behalf of our neighbors. I live on 2813 Lower Loop, which is right here. And
I'm sorry, could you please state your name for the record? Your name?
Gonzalez.
Thank you.
So, our concerns regarding this plat is the use of the land. We didn't have until now that much information about what's gonna be used for. So I have just a few comments here that I would like to read. If it's gonna be used as a parking lot, it is the homeowner's desire that there will be no ingress or egress. This is a residential subdivision that we don't want any commercial traffic in the neighborhood. The property should not serve as any kind of service entrance. City ordinance should only allow access to power company to service the light tower that is there, and or official city or county first responders. Furthermore, the residential streets leading into and out of our neighborhood are not designed for commercial traffic. So we would like that as a plat no requirement. No street cut should be permitted. We would like that on the plat no requirement. The land is not zoned for commercial use and is not being used, and is being used for commercial purposes. If the intended use of the land is for a parking lot, the parked vehicles should not be visible from the subdivision. A minimum of 7-foot opaque fence should be installed. Fence should be made out of block with gates that models those of homeowners. Fence renderings can and may be required for approval. If parking lot is to have lighting, lighting must be designed not to be intrusive to the homeowners. And regardless of what warranty it may state, which may be difficult to enforce, the current zoning does not allow for intended use, and therefore plat notes must be required to ensure enforceability. And I have this many, neighbors that have signed this petition.
Well, I think you heard the attorney speak as far as what they had agreed to do. So they are in agreement they did add the plat notes where traffic could not go out into Glover Loop. They are going to be building a 6-foot block wall to serve as a buffer. I'm not too sure if there's anything else I'm missing as far as what was mentioned, but I believe most of the comments that you mentioned were addressed either on the plat notes or by the attorney, what he said in the deed that was recorded.
Do you, excuse me, Mr. Gonzalez, do you want like a copy of what they have? So
Yes, 'cause,
so
we
you
don't
could
have
give
those.
to your residents, or because you stated that it was the first time that you heard what they were going to do.
Well, we didn't have a copy of the deed. I spoke to the country club manager yesterday, and it was supposed to be mailed to
And
me yesterday, but it didn't. I was out of town today, and I didn't get it on me.
Okay, no, just so you could be able to, para que puedas entregarle una copia o tengas soporte
vecinos.
o apoyo de las cosas que se vieron aquí, ¿verdad? Que te den una copia.
Lo principal es que no queremos
Sí, no,
vehículos comerciales entrando y saliendo por eso.
sí, y sí contestaron que van a hacer una barda de 6 pies que se va a usar como para protección y que nada más va a ser para vehículos utilitarios solamente, ¿no?
Personas.
Bueno,
¿No va a ser una reja para personas?
para personas que
solo,
salgan.
solo los que trabajan.
Solo los que trabajan ahí y
o
que
de
la
emergencia.
policía o de emergencia
O los que puedan trabajar en
en el country club.
No, para utilidades,
sí,
solamente para
en los
utilidades.
servicios de utility.
De utilities.
No los empleados o
AP.
los que trabajan en el club.
No,
Correct, sir. Sí, just utilities.
¿verdad? Only utilities.
It's only utilities, emergency personnel, but it's only a person gate, no vehicular.
No person gate.
It's not gonna fit a car.
Es nada más una reja para peatonal. No va a haber ningún vehículo ni nada por ahí.
The only thing I would recommend is if the owner would consider the 7-foot fence, I think that's a good idea. Rather than 6 foot, a 7 foot. If, I don't know if we'd have to add it as a note or as a comment, but I know you've recognized that you will do it. I believe the owners will provide that, but I do agree with that. I think 7-foot fence would be a good idea if you can do 1 more foot for it. That's something that
For privacy.
for privacy. I think there's a lot of homeowners that signed that sheet, and it would be in good faith. You guys have been neighbors, and you continue to be neighbors, so I would really consider that if it's possible. I don't know if we could add it as a plat note, or we can add it as a comment, but I do recommend if that's possible to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
For the record, Mike Maynard with Laredo Country Club. In good faith, the club agrees to conform to any request that the neighbor has for the bordering fence, and will oblige to both aesthetically and functionality, whatever is needed.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so we can do 7 foot, that'd be good.
Here's a copy of the deed, it's public record, it's filed.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, would you be kind enough to present a copy of the signatures to staff for the record, just so that they have it included?
This one?
Yes, please.
They can get,
Okay, please, just for the record.
For them to have a copy.
This is a public hearing. Anyone else who wishes to speak or say anything different from what's been heard or spoken today?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. for
Sure.
staff.
Yes.
Ms. Guerra, can we include those notes? Given that this is a replatting, can we include notes like the 7 foot?
That's exactly what we were discussing.
Yes.
Whether the board has the authority to include, over and above what the subdivision ordinance would require. I wanna say a 7-foot opaque fence is required by the land development code for commercial uses which abut residential uses. So that's a matter of course.
Of course, that is right.
So that is a requirement. Now, because it would front on a street, would that be considered abutting, right? Abutting a residential use or district. So we come back, do we want to have that on the plat note? Our general consensus is we think yes, that you would be able to add that as a plat note or have that as a condition of the approval.
What about the gate, to restrict the use of that gate and to say that it's a gate for pedestrians, not?
I think so. If you wanted to add that as a plat note, yes. Our consensus is that yes, you could make that recommendation.
Okay. Could we also just make the note that aside from the 7-foot fence, that that this replat sort of align with the deed?
A Aligned with what?
With
The deed.
The deed,
Oh, the deed.
that it comply with,
Well, I think what we could do in that case is we could put a plat note that says, like a reference to.
Reference.
yes.
So must comply with the conditions of that conveyance recorded in X volume page. We could do it that way.
The deed has its own powers
Yeah.
and, you know, restrictions. I mean, obviously they have to comply with the, what's already placed in the deed. So I don't think there's a need to mirror, you know, on our end with.
Mr. Chairman, it's
I
been my.
think just acknowledging it
Mr.
on there.
Mr. Chairman, it's been my experience in the past that when deed items are left out of plats, it becomes very difficult for the city to enforce or even get involved in, and they choose not to. And so if it's possible, I'd like to have those notes that are in the deed, or
Exactly.
those items in the deed, added to the plat as a
Yes.
note.
As a
well,
precaution almost, like.
so that the city does have some enforcement
Así es.
capacity to that.
Yes. Just to confirm, I don't, not to put you on the spot, but Fire's here, if they want to more than just a pedestrian gate, they, I guess now is the time to let us know. We had no indication otherwise, but.
They didn't submit comments
They
regarding
did
that.
some.
Ruben Lemay, Fire Department. For that facility to require a secondary means of egress, they would have to have a building on there over 62,000 square feet.
No.
So with the size as it is, it's adequate by code with one
One.
entrance, one emergency entrance.
Thank you, Chief.
Right, and that's basically what I was gonna say. We would get a sort of response like that. If not, I'd like to address it in the one-stop shop.
Okay.
And maybe edit number, comment number 4. But I don't think it's necessary. I was gonna say to include the word, vehicle, because it doesn't really say vehicle, and I don't wanna prohibit any ingress, you get me? If we still need people to access that gate. So if I can add vehicle, vehicular, or something to that effect.
No access to be allowed, Mr. Chairman, to Glover Loop, provide a plat note that prohibits vehicular ingress and egress.
Exactly.
Okay, so is that your motion?
Okay. Let me think here. So, motion to approve, subject to comments, and include, the following amendments. So one, on note number 4, change to say no vehicular access on the first sentence, and on the second sentence as well, prohibit vehicular access. And then in addition, one more comment to say, include the 7-foot fence around the property, as well as the deed, comply to the existing deed between the property owners.
Yo quiero aclarar.
It includes the gate, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's right.
Yes. So we have a motion by Commissioner Portillo
To close public hearing and
to close public hearing and her amendments and additions to, the item. So we have a motion?
second.
We have a second by Commissioner Benmares. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Oh, yes.
No, I just wanted to see if someone can explain to to Mr. Gonzalez and the neighbors a little bit, because I see their faces are a little confused of all the information that they've been receiving. If they could just, Didi or somebody to explain.
We'll be glad to meet with them.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to address any questions that the
No,
homeowner may have to.
Just kind of
but the
reassure them
intention-
as far as what is.
What is what,
What's happening,
because-
what's gonna happen, just
Yeah.
to leave everybody at ease. To the-
Yeah, absolutely. I know that the HOA needs to inform their residents, and we're happy to inform our neighbors on any plan to share with them. And the intention of the gate is only for the access of 8 feet as
That's
it
right.
exists today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So motion carries. Now moving on to item 9. Moving on to consideration of following preliminary plats and preliminary replats. Item 9A. We have preliminary consideration of the plat of Stoughton Industrial Park. The intent is industrial.
Oiga, ¿no le pueden subir al aire?
Bust
Está
up the
bien
chair and
frío.
start fireworks. Open it.
Ya tenemos dos horas aquí. No, no, yo estoy bien. Mr. Belmar.
We would have left the parks.
Ay, okay. ¿Qué sigue? ¿Qué sigue? 9A, okay? 9A. Consideration of the following, okay?
Should I go?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the applicant, for the record, is Killam Development, engineers Topside Civil Group, proposed use is industrial. The zoning for this two-lot development is M2. Location view. Aerial view. The proposed plat. Staff comments planning. Fire. And traffic safety. And the proposed motion.
Thank you.
Engineer record.
Good evening, members of the commission. Again, for the record, Ricardo Villarreal, Topside Civil Group. On this, and I don't know if we can bring up the comments section here so we can see it in a bigger scale on the sheet. Is it just going back?
Yeah.
Oh, you're controlling?
No.
Okay. So planning comment 1 and planning comment 4. The first one is to add a road. And then it's basically provide a connecting road to Majestic Track. That was the reasoning I was here on the earlier version of the thoroughfare fair plan. Just to start off the conversation, we have an approved master plan already that was approved June 1st, 2023, without that road on there. So obviously within this last year, there's been multiple developments, as one of the staff members said. This road leading to I-35 is actually being under construction and in design and under construction at the same time. At the same time, Port Drive and Jim Way Young are completed already. That was completed before the master plan. It was done some time ago. So really the only other obligation that we have within this master plan is extend Port Drive to the eastern boundary line, which we're doing in our plat right now. Now, just to give it some context, roughly, I'm going to go ahead and estimate because the thoroughfare plan doesn't really have an exact, but the way I saw it is something like this on the thoroughfare plan. And that was my comment. One of the rare instances on the thoroughfare plan, which usually things get changed in virgin land, unplatted land, or roads that are already built. That's when we usually see changes in the thoroughfare plan. It's very rare that we see changes on an approved master plan. That's actually kind of a little playing with fire a little bit, as far as, you know, you have an approved master plan, you go out and market, and all of a sudden something like this, not only a big cost, but a big change comes into play. But a few key points here is, this lot here, where the thoroughfare plan is showing the road, is actually already platted, recorded. My understanding is going to be a cold storage that's about to be submitted for building permit. So just that in itself, there's no recourse on that to make them put the road. So basically, that's our, I don't want to be here forever, a gist of it to kind of not, to eliminate comment number 1 and not for us not to be required to put that road. As far as comment number 4, which is an amendment to the master plan, the ordinance actually stipulates the substantial alterations of master plans and what it takes, when you have to bring it back. The 2 substantial alterations, that's per section, let me just get it right here, section 2-3.5, section F. There's 2 main reasons. It's the changing of an alignment on an approved master plan and the changing of the proposed land use. Proposed land use is staying industrial, zone M2, and the alignment of the original roadway that was approved in the original master plan is not changing. What we actually did was, the master plan had 2 lots here, in this phase 2 lots here. We combined them to streamline it. If not, we could keep it that way, we can build over lot lines, and we would have to just come back in and either do an administrative plat or a replat, and it just gets done a different way. All we're doing is skipping future steps. That's more work for the client, more work for the city, you know, it's more work for the end user. So I'm here to answer any further questions that you may have.
I have a question for staff. Where is the connected street from the other master plan in regards to where? Sure, let me bring that up.
Es la que decía yo de la sujetación, la amarilla.
I have it here.
Es la amarilla, ¿no?
I guess, Mr. Ray, will they get that up? I know, I'm just trying to picture what you had mentioned, right before we got to start looking at the adjacent master plan, right? Currently, you have a master plan in place with your phases in place, right? If you weren't combining the lots, really just removing the lot lines, which you can probably already come in and do, right? You can actually, I could potentially buy those 3 lots and say, okay, I'm gonna buy lots 1, 2, and 3, right? And I can come in and say, I'm the owner of these 1, 2, and 3 lots. And I'd like to develop one big warehouse over those lot lines, right?
Yes.
I would be able to get permits if it meets the requirements of the city's subdivision ordinance.
For a platted lot, yes.
For plotted lots, right?
Right.
So that could happen
Right now.
right now, if that was, if we wanted to, if you guys wanted to. But for you guys, I guess the question is, you're coming in, to combine the lots, just, I guess I don't.
No, the lots are not platted today.
No, they're not, right? But right now, he's bringing in a preliminary plat, not showing the lot lines as 3 lots. It's coming in as one big lot, right? So, and the reasoning behind that is I guess, and I know it's probably the owner's decision on why, right? But
The simple reason is,
¿no?
it's the same, purchaser. It's the same client, so.
Right.
To eliminate any issues at building department, even though we are allowed to build over a lot line, let's just clean it up, type of thing.
It's like, hey, this lot line, how are you gonna service this lot? How are you gonna service this lot?
Yes.
How are you gonna service this lot?
Yes.
Eventually, those things come up, right?
Exactly.
Rather than, no, it's one, be like, no, I see 3 lots, yeah. Thank you, sir. Makes sense.
So this is the area, so what we would want, so here we have the.
No se ve. Ah.
Sorry. Oh, there we go. This is the area for the.
Majestic.
I went blank. On the master plan. Port Grande. Master plan over here. So they have, in their development, they have a roadway coming this way. Now, correct, you are correct, we cannot swing this way because there's a cold storage area coming this way. But what we would want, or what would be required, is to have this roadway in somehow, some form or fashion, which they can work out with the adjacent landowner to be able to connect somewhere over here in this area for connectivity. We've got, this area suffers tremendously from traffic. And we do know that the Killam's are building this roadway, to help alleviate traffic. However, the traffic that's gonna come this way would provide an alternate route for them to connect and then eventually lead out. So that's why, right now, in the current stage where it's not platted, we saw this is the opportunity to capitalize on a couple of items that have gone in the past, where, when the master plan was approved, for them to coordinate with the adjacent landowners from Majestic to see how we could coordinate and make the traffic flow better. And then additionally, in the ordinance does prescribe that you must connect to the adjacent land. So that's why there's the opportunity for them to connect now to the Majestic property.
Pero lo pueden hacer, pero lo que él está sugiriendo es ponerlo por abajo.
Well, they
si
can swing
cumple.
it down. That's totally fine. They can swing it down. So let's just say, because.
Hold on, that's not our point. That's not our position to swing it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, pero tú estás, dijiste que ibas a agregar una parte.
No, estamos extendiendo la calle,
This one down.
La Morada.
Ah, bueno, entonces
So
tienen
that
salida,
one,
eso es lo
yeah,
que
so
quise
that
decir.
one's gonna continue east where their streets can tie in at a north-south. There's 2 issues here now, sorry for interrupting.
It's okay. Unless you want 2 minutes through.
No, that's okay. That's
All
okay.
right. No, so there's two issues on our end here, right? Number one, it's the procedural part of it, right? I'm not gonna say legality because I'm not an attorney, but we have an approved master plan. Right now, the thoroughfare plan, and the way I show it here, right now that it'll switch once I come here, we're abiding by everything on the current thoroughfare plan. That's there. That
And that's
road
how that
ended,
master
that
plan was
road,
designed.
that road ended there.
Right.
It's
Okay.
designed like this. It's and then we come for a master plan, we get it approved, and it's just hard to come in and add a big road like that. And imagine putting a road through these, you're marketing for the last year, and they're about to purchase close to 100 acres, putting in 1 million square feet of warehouse, and all of a sudden, all that due diligence gets thrown out the window. That's more on the procedural part. I didn't really want to get into the engineering part because then we get technical, but on that end, if we do it on that end, and I'm gonna zoom in here. So we look, and that was my comment on the thoroughfare plan, as far as looking at it, not in 2D, we're looking at 3, 4, 5th dimension, as far as topography, utilities, where is it tying in? So if this road were to tie in, even if it doesn't tie into the intersection and it ties in here, this road is existing, right? When Majestic did their plans, or when Port Grande did their plans, tying into this road, even in their era, would have been tough. There's 3 big structures already under. As per traffic, we can't really tie into a curve, right? Because sight distances come into play. And so if we pick a spot, let's just say here between the drainage structures that are already there, you're talking about us having 2 intersections within 400 feet of each other. So you have Port Drive, all this traffic turning left because that's the third out to the big congested area. And now I'm adding an intersection 500 feet just south of that. We also think about that. That in itself, too many roads can also create too much traffic. So, not to mention where it connects, and I believe Commissioner Sadapaz said that. If you look at the aerial, there's a transmission pole right at that point. The city will attest to this in the Achar Ruthinger plans that just started construction. To move one of those poles, which they have 2 in that scenario, $500,000 to $750,000 per pole. So, the topography in this area, you can see barely a big hill here, a big hill here. That hill is 45 feet higher than the roadway elevation. So now you're talking about coming up. So yeah, so going beyond just what I mentioned before on the comments, engineering wise, looking, and we look at these thoroughfare plans and it's a general location of where we think, or where we would like a road. Now we go back and get down into the nitty gritty and actually get into the weeds and say, is this even feasible? Is it even possible? And does it even work? So when we looked at it and the different aspects after we received these comments, it was like, well, we have a master plan. I mean, these guys are under contract. These guys, it not only affects on the economic end, on the planning end, but it also kind of discourages in the sense that like, hey, we have an approved master plan. Does that hold any validity? Are we just, that, and that's where my client is kind of like, man, this is super detrimental to this area and the way it was planned and the way it's been marketed for the longest time. So that's basically our point, not only on the way it is on the thoroughfare plan, but even aligning it further south does not make too much sense and make it feasible. I represent the buyer on this, and representative from the Killam, the landowner, is here as well.
Orlando Navarro for the record. Just a couple of comments. One of the comments he made was right in the marketing of it. So it's the way prices are with warehousing, it's a significant investment to do this, and then to come in with a road like this would be very, very difficult on the project. But beyond that, I'd like to go back to the thoroughfare plan. This road is something that I don't think is the issue. It's the bigger picture of what we want to do. And we do have plans that are part of the thoroughfare plan that y'all need to see. Because y'all need to see the bigger picture of how the roads are running in order to make some of these calls, because you're looking at little snapshots here, and that little snapshot, one, it could ruin a deal, but that's the insignificant road. The bigger roads have to be put in place on the master plan so that you know those roads are gonna get built. It's not this one. And we'd be happy, and that's why when you table it, we'd be happy to sit in the meetings and go over these bigger tranches of land so that you could see how the roads are going. There's also a couple of roads that are very significant. Vallecillo Road. Vallecillo Road's gonna hit 35, it's gonna cross over, it's coming over to the east side. That's a big deal, okay? And once you see that road come in, then you can see how connections are gonna be made, and that's where the thoroughfare plan can say, we wanna make sure that these roads connect, and that's what we're bringing to the table. So, something like this is not, this can hurt someone who's coming to Laredo, but I think what you did by tabling and then creating meetings, you're gonna be seeing some of the bigger pictures, so then when you see some more of this stuff, you'll understand where the roads are gonna come in. I just wanted to throw that out there because it's really hard, because I know you're looking at just a little piece, but you really need to look at big roads that are coming in, because that'll really make more sense.
I have a question for staff. So I know traffic and congestion was
An issue.
hot topic and a serious issue as far as the way everything's developing and everything's moving. What happens if those two master plans do not work together and do not connect?
I mean, that's a difficult challenge, because, one of the issues we have is we do have two approved master plans, but then we also have one development actually looking at being built prior to. So, I mean, it's a really difficult challenge trying to get these to line up and to gel. And again, I think Commissioner Salazar says, and many of you have gotten earfuls of this area, how the congestion is just very, very difficult. And we're trying to look at avenues of ways to help alleviate that, not only short term, but, to help long term.
And we're all for that same point. And excuse me, Mr. Chairman, but I recognize, before I forget my chairman, I recognize the need in the area as much as possible, in all areas of Laredo. I think interconnectivity is a big thing that this commission needs to consider when we are reviewing master plans, because that's where we're going to be able to get those connections prior to. And it's difficult for developers. I don't think they enjoy putting streets in because of the expense of them. But, it's important because 20 years later, we're going to have issues as far as connections. But at this point, I think the developer looked at the current thoroughfare plan at that time, and it did not have that access identified until today's meeting. And I guess, like they mentioned, they did their planning, they did their master plan, they did everything that was required of them at that time to provide the best plan possible. And to come in on the last day to try to do it, which again, I understand the city's need, and I'm hoping they can be creative as far as trying to, the adjacent Majestic, which isn't developed, how many lots have they put down?
They've done 2 phases, I believe, which is further north.
The north side, but on this side, they haven't. So and I understand what we're saying, but in looking at the master plan, I just saw kind of like arrows. I didn't really see specific design. So even then, looking at the adjacent master plan, I think we also have to ask for them to provide a little bit more detail than maybe provided sometimes. So, and I understand Mr. Vidal mentioned that he showed us the ordinance where he's meeting the requirements to not have to kick in the rules of having to provide a revised master plan. So those are all significant things that I think we're looking at, but at the end of the day, I think, you provided the master plan, you're meeting the ordinance's requirements, I believe, unless the staff says, that's not the case as far as there. And I understand it kind of referenced something else in the ordinance that says you want to provide connectivity between developments. But it's a difficult decision, and I understand. How far into I guess you're already at preliminary, do they foresee if this wasn't in place and it was going clear, would these developments be built?
With probably the way the economic boom in the industrial sector is happening right now, these developments in their due diligence process spend a lot of money just to even get to this point right here. you're talking about how much grading is required, how much paving. They're looking at millions and tens of millions of dollars in budget. So their due diligence has to be tight. And so when they look at this and us as engineer developer, it's like, you shouldn't have a problem. We have an approved master plan as long as we follow this. Now, if I were to switch a roadway or this, hey, that's gonna cause a red flag and I need to talk to planning, I need to talk to the city. And this is one of those scenarios. It's not that we're against roadways, right? It's, we're against roadways that are gonna cause issues and don't make it feasible not only to the city, but to the developer, doesn't cause a problem out there. I'm afraid that this might cause a flecha lane Las Cruces, you know, on the offsets.
Claro.
You know, so that's what we look at on the 2D, 3D, 4D end of it, and not just on the plan end, right? The good thing here is we are meshing in a way to where the obligation by us, and I don't want that to be swept under the rug, the obligation by us is still extending Port Drive to the east. That's gonna be the major roadway that's gonna go in here. That's the roadway you want funneled to the east-west roadway that connects to I-35.
That's how it was designed when you didn't have this change in the
I
thoroughfare
think
plan.
we're sometimes we kind of, it gets shaded and it kind of says, oh, well, you know, this. No. Let's talk about first, our obligation is that roadway. That roadway's going east, and that's the major tie-in point and the way we see it. This, not in every scenario, right? But I can say that a lot of the other roads in the thoroughfare plan make sense. Just this one for this specific case, engineering-wise, also backs it up where it probably doesn't make it the most efficient and the most sense in this specific area.
Because of the topografía, ¿no? O sea,
And
de las
both on the
subidas.
economic end, on the planning end, and also on the engineering end.
Nomás quiero aclarar una cosa. La cosa es, hay dos master plans que ya estaban previstos, ¿verdad? El de ellos y el de Majestic.
Por grande.
Por grande. Entonces, si él cumple, o sea, como lo que él dice, a mandar una salida, ¿verdad? Aquí ya vamos a tener dos salidas. ¿Por qué? Porque tienes la principal de la milla 13, ¿verdad? O sea, donde entra general, ¿verdad? Y la segunda que no teníamos, que ya está haciendo Killam.
Van a ser tres, esa es la tercera.
Eso es para allá voy. Entonces, la segunda que va a ser Killam y la tuya, ¿verdad? Sería la tercera. Entonces, lo que nosotros queremos es que fluya, ¿verdad? Todo. En el caso de Majestic, va a conectarse hacia la tuya, para la salida, ¿verdad? Estamos de acuerdo, ok. No más quería aclarar.
Esta oportunidad no se pierde donde Majestic no se puede conectar y usar esta salida.
Claro.
No estamos eliminando calles de donde estaban planeadas, es nada más, es una idea diferente.
Okay.
So in the comment it says, as per PNC directive in the approval of the master plan and approval for Port Laredo Industrial Park, the concerns was the traffic flows and development of the Unitech and Port Grande development. So this came from the directive of the commission as far as their concerns, as far as the connectivity and the traffic and flow, so.
Well, I actually have the meeting minutes of that. That portion isn't quite expanded like the way it should be. So the point for that was, the point for that was, it was basically, and I saw the meeting again, just to make sure that I had it. The conversation at that point was for a traffic impact analysis for the connection to I-35.
Así es.
And so the point there was, we're already connecting to an existing road. That existing road already has its parameters. Why do we need to do a TIA? So the whole comment here was, you need to do a TIA so that we all know that we can do everything together and kind of like live in harmony, per se, right? But the commission's action was like, you don't need to do the TIA. So the whole comment, part of it, according to the minutes, was actually deleted, which was the TIA and deal with, you know, the TIA for TxDOT, the TIA for the city traffic. The top part, which was kept on ours, which is a good general suggestion, is, hey, work with your neighbors.
Claro.
We're not against that, right? But the directive, there's no directive to that part like there was, that was stricken from that same note on that meeting. The real directive was do a TIA, and the commission got rid of that.
I have a question for Mr. Chairman. Have we had this type of issue before where we approve a master plan and then the thoroughfare plan comes in, just the timing happens to be where it impacts a master plan?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head if that has happened in the past. I would assume so, that this is not the first time in history that it's happened. So yeah,
But do we, when we are doing or developing the thoroughfare plan draft, do we look at the master plans that have been,
Yes.
that are
Absolutely.
approved and
Yes.
in place?
Yeah, so we did look at the Port Grande master plan and showing their connection out.
Okay, because this, one of the comments here is that they need to revise their master plan. But it's sort of like revise it based on a change.
Right, so the
Master.
revision to the master plan is because of the fact that they are reducing the count of the lots. Because they are, I think it was 4 initially or 6, and now it's 2.
So in our boundary, there was 4, we're just doing 2. The boundary doesn't change, the over boundary doesn't change, the alignment doesn't change, it's just streamlining it, cleaning it up right now. If not, I would have to clean it up 6 months from now. And we'd be back here, it'd be a simple replat, administrative plat, hopefully administrative plat, all that, but, you know, it's just, why kill 2 birds with 1 stone?
Yeah, because what we wanted to see is we wanted to see a revision that would incorporate, okay, these are no longer the number of
Just
lots.
on that
Right.
portion.
And one of the, part of the reasoning for that is that it helps also in the long-term planning, like for utilities. So utility says, oh, well, we had to do 6 service connections, oh, well, now we're gonna reduce it to 2, and so on and so forth. So that also helps utilities to keep their records updated on the future amount of service connections and so on and so forth.
Our concern is if and the reason I'm asking for note 4 to be stricken is, when you come in with a master plan revision, and this is all semantics and a technicality, right? You come in for a master plan revision, you kind of start again, right? So now you have the ability to add new notes. And so we look at the ordinances thoroughly in this, and this is pretty much one of the last phases in this master plan, right? And so we look at the ordinance and say, okay, if this is gonna constitute a master plan revision, let's leave it as is, right? That way, it's not that not giving the municipality, giving another opportunity, it's more like it can snowball effect to other buyers or neighbors that might happen. So, for instance, the platted lot just north of us, right? So what we said, okay, what are the parameters for a master plan revision? We're not following with that, we don't need one, and that's the way it was submitted. Now, the comment came in, and I get it, if you want a clean slate, I can, you know, provide a shape file to the utilities department. I can provide some other stuff that'll allow them to have their GIS system up to date. But to do a master plan, have a separate meeting, have a master plan revision when it's not going to change, that's our point.
Yes, no se vale, aparte.
And, yeah.
No se vale.
Rafa, so the master plan revision, I think it's something we can look at if issues like this in the future come about and they are making 3 lots into 1 lot. Well, then I think you would have to specify that within the ordinance to be able to come in and do that, right? And if that's a good idea that the staff has to be able to get another crack at the master plan because of issues like this, then that should be something in place, but it's currently not.
So that provision, it deals with the vesting, the vesting of the property, so that's why.
Got it. And for the most part, we work well with planning to where phasing is off. You know, we'll go ahead and do that as a courtesy, like, hey, just so you can have updated, you know, a clean, because we're both on the same page. this is one out of 15, 20, 25, maybe go a little higher, where it's like, okay, this is the one where I feel like I don't need to, right? But for the most part, we're all on the same page. We're not on one side or the other. We're usually on the same table planning for the same thing.
So you would like strike out comment number 4?
And just to keep the harmony there, on any development, we like to work with our neighbors and our adjoiners. But since comment number 1 has the specific comment to add the road, it, you know, that's why comment number 1 in its entirety would have to be stricken.
Stricken 2.
A and B?
Can I go back to the comments that you have here?
Actually,
You're
Can-
more,
can-
you're more.
I'm waiting for the,
What?
oh, you're in the.
Oh, I gotta do it on my end. Sorry.
Es que también el otro todavía no ha hecho nada. O sea,
So really, it's not A or B. It's the like the preface. Yeah, it's 1. Like if it would have been an A, B, or C, yeah, I agree. And it's not that by ordinance we have to follow the ordinances. So part B we have to follow it no matter what.
o sea, striking out comment number 1
And 4.
in 4.
A and B, and then number 4.
Okay. Yeah. Motion to.
Well, I think it's just a plat. I don't think. It's
Bueno.
not a public.
No sé qué es.
But we have to have
So,
motion to approve
But we have
that.
to motion and approve, no?
That
So.
motion to approve, yeah.
Motion to approve. Okay.
Subject-
Subject to comments,
Left. Strike.
striking out, planning comment 1 and 4.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Oh, be 1 against.
1 against?
I do want to just add in closing though, that he did agree that all the other items on the third floor plan are good.
I'm waiting for the workshop. I'm waiting for the workshop.
Moving on to item 9B. Preliminary consideration for the replat of Lot 13, Block 1, San Isidro Northeast, Las Palmas subdivision Phase 2 into lots 13A, 13B, 13C, 13D, and 13E, Block 1, San Isidro Northeast, Las Palmas subdivision Phase 2. The intent is commercial.
Agregar todos juntos.
Yes, for the record, the applicant is San Isidro Northeast, Engineer Slade Engineering Company, proposed use commercial. The zoning for this 5-lot development is R1. Location view, aerial view, as platted and replat. Comments planning, and the proposed motion.
Thank you, Engineer Rick.
Yes. Ramiro Ibarra, good evening, Ramiro Ibarra from State Engineering. We concur with the comments. You have any questions?
Any questions from the engineer?
No.
This is item 9B, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
One of the items that I think our captain had spoke to you today, that we needed a turnaround at the end of that street. It wasn't noted in our comments, but the road is too deep to where it requires a turnaround so we can come back out. If that can be added to.
I'll check with my client to see if, well, we concur with the comments because I know it's necessary, but yes.
Okay. Do you know what we're thinking of doing in that area?
Not small commercial. They don't have a potential buyer yet, but
Just because this is next to the school property, correct?
yes.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering what they were gonna do.
some small retail, some small commercial lots.
Right. Good. Yeah. Got it.
Mr. Chairman, what was the requirement you wanted, for fire?
A turnaround, a cul-de-sac.
So you need to add it there.
Yes.
So it's motion to approve, adding, comment on fire,
Yeah, a cul-de-sac or
a
a turnaround.
cul-de-sac or
Or
turnaround at the end of the,
At the end of the road that's going between the lots.
at the end of the road going in between the lots.
Yes.
Second.
Second
Okay with
by,
that? All right, I see a little confusion, or a little like,
I'm sorry, it's because it's a road or is it an easement? It's an easement for circulation.
It's an access easement, but it's a primary access to one of the lots on the back, so it will,
I
might.
understand, right, yeah, it does require that, that's right.
okay.
okay.
So we're
So the motion is correct, right?
Yeah, it's necessary to comply with fire.
Okay.
We have a motion by Commissioner Salpas, second by Commissioner Portillo, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. We have enough to, yes, we did. Item 9C, preliminary consideration of the replat of Lot 8, Block 261, Eastern Division to lots 8A and 8B, Block 261, Eastern Division. The intent is residential.
Yes, sir. For the record, applicant is Monica Soldevilla. Engineers, Do Right Engineering, proposed use as residential. The zoning for this two-lot development is R3. Location view, aerial view, current plat, and the proposed replat. Staff comments planning, and the proposed motion.
Thank you. Is the engineer record here?
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salpas, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Item 9D, preliminary consideration of Lot 5, Block 1, Highway 359, Vinateria subdivision into Highway 359, Vinateria subdivision, Lot 5A, 5B, and 5C, Block 1. The intent is industrial and residential.
Yes, sir. For the record, applicant is Murillo Guadalupe. Engineer is Howland Engineering and Surveying. The proposed use is industrial and residential. The zoning for this three-lot development is not applicable as it's located in the ETJ. The location view,
Maybe just this one.
the aerial view, the current plat, and the proposed replat. Staff comments planning, and the proposed motion.
Thank you. Is the engineer?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we get 2 minutes with Howland Engineering, here to answer any questions you may have, but we concur with all comments.
Motion to approve, subject to comments.
Second.
We have a motion, and second by Commissioner Belmontes, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Moving on to reconsideration of following preliminary plats and preliminary replats. Item 10A, preliminary reconsideration of the plat of Lopez Adri Terminal 2. The intent is industrial. The purpose of this reconsideration is to increase acreage.
Yes, for the record, applicant is Ruben Lopez, engineer, Ever Engineering. Proposed use is industrial. The zoning for this one-lot development is AG. Location view, aerial view, the proposed plat. Staff comments planning, and the proposed motion.
Thank you. Engineer record.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Ever Garza for the record. With Ever Engineering, we concur with the comments, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Motion to approve, subject to comments.
Second.
We have a motion, and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Moving on to consideration of following final plats and final replats. If there's no objection by staff or commission to hear items 11A through 11F.
Second.
We have a motion, a second by Commissioner Belmontes, all in favor?
Aye.
Against, motion carries. If we can also have a motion to motion of action on items 11A through F.
Motion of action. So move.
Approval?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Bermudez. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. If we can read those into record.
Yes, sir. For the record, final consideration of the replat of Colonia Cuatro Caminos into Cuatro Caminos Industrial Park, Industrial Plat approved. Final consideration of San Isidro Southwest Loop 20 Commercial Plat approved. Final consideration of the replat of lots 1, 3, and 5, Block 411 Eastern Division into lots 1A and 5A, Block 411 Eastern Division approved. Final consideration of the replat of lots 5 and 6 and the east 50 feet of lot 7, Block 813 Eastern Division into lots 5A and 7A, Block 813 Eastern Division approved. Final consideration of the plat of Cielo Vista subdivision phase 1 approved. And final consideration of the replat of lot 26, block 1, Cuatro Vientos Norte subdivision phase 3 into lots 26A, 26B, 26C, 26D, 26E, and 26F, block 1, Cuatro Vientos Norte subdivision phase 3 approved.
Thank you. Moving on to consideration of model subdivision compliance. Item 12A is consideration of model subdivision road compliance of the plat of Gator Point subdivision phase 2. Intent is residential. Proposed action is approval. Can I have a motion on that item?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Any director's comments before we adjourn? I know it's not meeting, but.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. We adjourn.